Hello everybody and welcome back to the Smite Challenger Circuit for the EU region. We're going to be moving on to our third set of the day and our second half out here. We saw them earlier in set number 1. ZINEDINE have made their way in to qualify towards the SCC, but they're going to have to go through the Radical Rodents here in our third set of the game. It's J-Mac and Mifflin joining me here for set number 3, and we get to witness ZINEDINE once more.
Cannot wait, man. It was a treat the first time. I love competitive back and forth Smite. I hope that this set can just live up to the hype of the last one.
Yeah, we get to take a look at the schedule for the remainder of today and what we've gotten to see from these teams up until this point. ZINEDINE with a 2-1 over Thunderhead. Peace and Love falls down to just F6 in 2-0 fashion last time around. So for our final two sets of the day, it's going to be our final two qualification rounds here out of these ones. Radical Rodents and ZINEDINE and Oogie Bogies in just F6 will be the set after this one. But dialing back in here, it's been a little bit of time since we've gotten to see this Radical Rodent squad, and going up against ZINEDINE, who's gotten a nice little warm-up so far in their first set earlier on, means that ZINEDINE are in a bit of a hot seat coming up into here.
They are. Radical Rodents is a squad of some pretty significant talent, specifically Fails and Fenrir. Those are the names that jump out to me. I think if ZIDANE wants a chance at shutting down this squad, it's pretty clear where they need to shut down first, and it's going to be those two players.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Fails and Fenrir have been around the scene for the Rodents for such a long time. I mean, they've been playing for years, whether it be at the very top end of play or right there at the cusp end of top end play. And then you throw out the rest of their squad here. I mean, you have Panvich, Jacob, and Zeus all on the side of Radical Rodents to really face off against this ZINEDINE squad. Sure to be a treat here for our third set.
Yeah, I'm excited for it, man. We got a good idea of what ZIDANE is going to look like. You've baited me. I'm not saying it again. We got a pretty good idea of what ZZ is going to try and play in the near future, or in this set, rather. It's going to be a lot of methodical, slow early game pacing, or if they're not going for that, it's going to be a whole lot of objective play, like we saw in Game 3 of their last set. I'm expecting Game 1 probably going to be a little bit more so the prior, just early games in best of 3s, best of 5s, anytime there is set play involved, going to be more so about data collection and figuring out exactly what it is and that you do that works against your opposition and what they do that works against you.
And we got to see a little bit of the flexibility just in the jungle role. I believe 3 different gods for French Emperor in that last set that we got to see. Dual lane has been nothing but back and forth across the board in this scene. It really feels like here in the EU region specifically, they've really been highly favoring getting this early dual lane pressure, where in some of the more North American sets, it's been geared more towards getting your solo laner ahead.
Yeah, which is interesting because Duo, for my money, is just more valuable, man. Only one side of the map's got the Gold Fury on it. Also, one side of the map just straight up has more farm on it. That's the Duo side, by the way, which is why I think we see so much emphasis around there. And even in the NA, we see high-pressure duo lane. Sure, you might have your jungler rotate over towards solo a little bit more often, but it's usually still like Izanamis, Medusas, Hoyis, gods that can establish pressure in lane and start to run with it. So it seems to me that the majority of the SCC that we've seen so far, North America and EU, highly prioritizing the duo.
And speaking of Izanami, we've actually seen a little bit of a lack of Izanami, at least in our first couple of sets there. The Cernanos has kind of been the go-to for some of these hunters, and the Medusa obviously still one there. But going up against the Radical Rodents, I mean, we talked about this team a little bit earlier. The most notable players out here, Fails and Fenrir, for how long they've been around the competitive scene, and throwing some other talent around, like I said, Jacob, Zolot over in that duo lane, Panvich in the solo lane. Saw a lot of impressive play for them, even up against just F6 earlier on in this tournament.
Yeah, we have. This is a team that I would likely say is the favorite in this one, just because they do have those huge names for them. But I also said that ZIDANE wasn't the favorite in their last set, and they kind of popped off there too. So maybe I'm a newborn ZIDANE. I keep saying it. I'm a newborn ZZ truther. I think this is a squad that really can line up, but big names need to be addressed early on. Fenrir, one of the few players in the EU SEC that is still going back towards this Tiamat every single opportunity that he can. He loves that aggressive style of play, loves that ability to leap in that quadrubeetle stance and get involved, gets his hands dirty. But that does open you up to a little bit of aggression coming your way as well. Leap in aggressive, all of a sudden you don't have one to get out.
And I think it is interesting because we saw a lot of priority in our first set of banning Tiamat away, and the fact that you do have a player here in this mid lane that really does want to prioritize getting Tiamat early should make things interesting, at least in Game 1's picks and bans. Typically in these 3-game set, we always see in Game 1, you stick to the very meta. You don't really go for these kind of off-kilter respect bans unless you are like really scared of what one person can do on one specific god. We'll see what does happen out here in Picks and Bans. Game number 1 between ZZ and RR. We get a double abbreviation for them if you want to go there, so we don't have to say the whole thing out there. I think that is the most that you said the full name of ZZ's team, though, in like the 2 weeks that we've been talking about them.
And it's probably the last time I said, man. I'll say Radical Rodents. Like, that's normal. Like, those are words that I know. The other one, I couldn't tell you what it's a reference to. Like, I could get in trouble for saying that. I don't know. Like, do you know?
Radical. I'm
the other one.
Not. Oh no, I would not be able to.
Yeah, me either.
Radical Rodents, though, second pick here in game number 1. Bastet and Fenrir, the first 2 gods taken off the table. Absolutely no surprise. Fenrir has been one of the #1 bans out of that support role and even that flexibility towards the jungle role. Bastet with her solo and jungle, more so jungle now, at least as the second half of this qualification stage has gone through. Banned away, and then Izanami and Medusa. So still seeing that Tiamat available. We saw the highlights where Ferrokrick did really like going to this god.
Yeah, Tiamat's out there, but so are the other 2 mid laners, the Agnis and the Thos of the world. So even if you are allowing Ferrokrick to get one of his favorites, I'm not super concerned about it. I wish I had spoken a little bit more quickly because I wanted to bring up the Jormungandr, something we'd seen so much in the European SEC. Wasn't expecting to see it in the ban column, though. That is a lot of respect early on for a god that I just would not consider meta, just not yet.
Well, ZINEDINE will pick up Amaterasu for their first pick right after the Jormungandr and then the Soul ban on the side of Radical Rodents. That does leave the Tiamat open, which is where the Radical Rodents mid laner has really been showing a lot of favoritism towards. We'll see if that does make its way through and does get locked in. For now, though, it will be a Bellona to go up and match against this Amaterasu, put both those auto attack warriors into that solo lane. And now the Cabrakan that's been seeing maybe less flexibility than we were more accustomed to during the SPL qualifier stage is probably geared towards support role.
Yeah, both teams prioritizing the front line very early on. Radical Rodents, we get a better look at it because they simply have more pieces on the board right now. Bellona and Cabrakan, as you said, probably going to have Cabrakan in support. Could flex jungle. Bellona likely going into the soul lane. Has decent sustained matchup into the Amaterasu thanks to the cleave auto attacks and the bludgeon stance. But the Tiamat picked up. It's not Ferrokrick. It's ZZ's mid laner.
Yeah, that's going to go over to ZINEDINE alongside the Nemesis, which has been seeing a lot of popularity and has been one of French Emperor's most potent picks out of that jungle role. Seen a lot of success on that god. And talking about seeing a god with a decent amount of success here, Ho Yi, where if we talked about him, 2-3 months ago, we're all questioning, man, why are people ever picking up this pick? But so far, sitting at a 60% win rate, has been seeing a lot of success across the board here in Season 9.
You know, J-Mac, you used Wii there, the royal Wii. I'm not a Ho Yi doubter, okay? I've always thought Ho Yi's pretty good. That god has just got wild boxing potential. Even if he isn't the top meta pick, he is always, by nature of kit, going to be good in a 1v1. Ahead, behind, just simply doesn't matter. He's got that much damage output thanks to Ricochet. And for that, he's also got my heart.
We do have Merlin, Agni as the bans on the side of ZINEDINE. And we have Khepri and Fafnir. So they recognize what the Fafnir was able to do in Game 3 of the previous set for ZINEDINE, so they'll make sure to take that one away, especially with the amount of potential burn that there still could be with an extra Hunter thrown in there. So Radical Rodents, they'll lock in the Camisots for their 4th pick, and that gives the option now over to ZINEDINE. So Sobek is the one being looked at here. Maybe a little interesting. We haven't been seeing a whole lot of Sobek as of recent myth.
No, we have not. And Sobek is a pick that is a little bit of a double-edged sword. It's something I'm going to quote every single time because quoting iRaffer is literally one of my favorite pastimes. But if you land a pluck on a carry in the late game and they've got beads up, you are probably just dead. And it's rung true. He said it back in Season 7. We're in Season 9 now, and it is still true. And that is one of the risks of Sobek. But what are the strengths of this god? He is a great initiator. He's got phenomenal peel. Legitimately pretty decent objective secure. Great kill secure. Lockdown. He's got it all. Also sustain in lane. So you can play this more aggressive styling and just trade out your HP bar. You can make your HP bar into a resource that you trade thanks to Sickening Strike, giving you so much sustain in the lane. I'm a Sobek fan, but it is high execution. You need to play well around this pick if you want to get its value.
And maybe talking about another high execution pick here, Giannis, the final god for Radical Rodents, one that we don't see very often. Haven't seen a whole lot specifically in this meta. I mean, Thoth was still available. Obviously, the Merlin, the Agni got taken away. Zeus was still on the table. So I'm very curious as to how this Giannis is going to line up for this Radical Rodents draft. As we jump in to game number 1 between ZZ and the Radical Rodents, it's J-Mac, Mifflin, and Doug bringing you the action here. Calvin on the Sobek, Ugly One will get to take that Amaterasu one final time, at least in this first game. I can't even say final time because there's still at least 2 games to go here. But
Wait,
ZINEDINE
at least one.
at least 2 games, including this one.
I see.
Including this one.
Including
we
this
have
one.
these 2.
And he is playing this one.
He is playing in this one, so potentially one more that he could still run it out here, Mifflin. But it's a double blink on the side of Radical Rodents. I think the most interesting relic out of all of these is the horrific emblem on Bologna Solo.
Yeah, decent kill? No, there's a dash for Amaterasu. I guess if she's dashing aggressively, Panvich is hedging his bets that Ugly One isn't just checking the relic, like, at level 2. Maybe you're able to turn around a fight there. It works more often than you might think, legitimately. Like, I'll roll up with a Horrific in duo lane and somebody, like, dashes aggressively. I'm like, oh, word. You should have checked, because now you can't move. So there is potential there, but once you realize the opposition, once the other soul laner realizes that Horrific Emblem is the selection, you either just tell your jungler, hey, this guy doesn't have teleport or beads, let's go, I don't know, jam it down that lane, or you just say, okay, I just won't dash on you, and, well, you just lost out on a relic slot. It's going to be good in the team fight, though.
I mean, late game team fights, it's really where these solo laners come in to shine. We'll see how that can pan out for them here. Now, as we do jump here into game number 1 officially, and we've been seeing a couple of different starts here. It doesn't seem that ZINEDINE or Radical are going to be going for this speed to back camp to red start that we've been seeing out of teams like Thunderhead and Just F6 specifically, out of this EU region. They're going to go with the more traditional speed red than to mid start.
Jacob HL tries his best to establish some pressure in the lane early on, and there's another one of the strengths of Sobek, the ability to just CC out early. Fun fact about Sobek as well, generally we see Sickening Strike as that first ability leveled up. Tail Whip actually does more damage at rank 1, helping you out with that wave clear.
That is a fun fact. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Woo! Apologies for the delay. We are back into game number 1 between ZINEDINE, ZIDANE, and the Radical Rodents. A little bit of aggression happening earlier on into the dual lane, but that seems to have calmed itself down as of now. You need a reminder, it's JMac, it's Mifflin, and Doug here in this third set of the day. Qualification round on the line for these two teams.
JMac, you betting man? You like to bet? You a betting guy?
Not usually, but sure. What's up, Miff?
Which team do you think qualifies?
You know what? I'm gonna put ZZ in my bet here.
All right, I'll take Radical Rodents for 10,000.
10,000 what?
10,000.
I'm not sure what his 10,000 is.
It's a yes or no.
And I don't know if I want to accept depending on what that 10,000 actually is out here. But right now, Calvin's eating quite a lot of damage. Maybe not 10,000, but it will be a jump in from Zolat just off the mark. And Ricochet not available to clean up the kill.
No, not this time. You know what? Maybe I lower it? No, we'll keep it at 10K. I'm glad that you took me up on that. Evaluating the pace of this game so far, we're like 2.5 minutes in, no goal differential, second buffs have started up, but no invades anywhere on the map. So, I think we got to talk about who's going to have the advantage around these neutral objectives come mid-game. And I'm never one to downplay how strong Yanis is at all phases of the game, rotating, the ability to play the sides of these team fights, but in a true 5-on-5 engagement or around a neutral objective, that is generally where Yanis struggles, and it's one of the strengths of Tiamat.
Farrakrick eating a lot of damage, experiencing the pain of what a Tiamat can bring. Ultimate is good, needs to consume.
Close.
But it's a little too far away. Farrakrick just barely makes it out, but ends up having to use both the ultimate and the beads just to get away from the potential solo first blood there of Picarino.
And now Farrakrick, without beads, without ultimate, is going to be exposed to some early rotations. French Emperor could try and work his way forward. Again, Yanis still pretty slippery, has additional movement speed, not only from his third ability, but also when he takes the portal, gets faster afterward and just straight up walked through a wall. So I would argue Yanis probably one of the hardest gods to gank in the game, but does not mean that without beads he is unkillable. If you find a knock-up from Picarino or maybe a stun, that could do it.
Maybe just some damage here. Portal not up for Farrakrick. One more dash in. Barely makes it into that portal. Just came up in the nick of time for Farrakrick. He'll squeak by once again. The French Emperor used that ultimate just to make sure that they could try and get that kill.
Unfortunate. Dude walks through walls and gets faster, man. I mean, that's just the name of the game for Yanis. Had skills connected, just 2 more auto attacks. I think maybe the ultimate could have confirmed that kill. Zolot puts on his juke shoes and makes sure that doesn't happen this time around. And neither team able to find much on the map. They're even trading mid camps so far. I believe Radical Rodents were able to pick up the left side camps. ZZ picks up the right, and nothing ventured, nothing gained. Both squads dead even, just vying for a little bit of positioning on the map.
I think one thing I'm going to keep my eye on is something we talked about at the very start of the game right before we had to go into that break, which was this horrific emblem out of Panvich. Typically when we see relics picked up like this that seem a little, kind of off, I always like to see how many times they kind of get used throughout the stages of the game so far. We haven't seen a pop of this emblem just yet, but as those team fights come through, gotta imagine that that is where the primary focus of this relic will be.
Yeah, but if you picked it up for team fights, don't you think level 12 probably would have been a little bit better, right? I mean, it's not as if he's struggling the lane. He's still about a half level up on Ugly One. He's been, Panvich that is, sitting comfortably at level 7. Ugly One just now ticking over after clearing out the blue buff and half of his wave. So no relic usage from the Bologna, but nothing needed. Ferricrick, on the other hand, might need some help. Picarino has been bullying this man in the lane. Another defensive ultimate from the Yanis.
Doesn't have the beads for another 20 seconds, so Ferricrick still does need to be careful. This time he's got some backup, though. Jacobin fails, at least in the area. But, I mean, Picarino has been relentless in this mid lane. Poke after poke, stun after stun, to try and keep Ferricrick on the back foot, not allow this Yanis to sit so comfortably in lane. Potential gank here by Calvin, but no one to be had as far as the duo lane is concerned. Talking about the supports, though, blink on both of their parts, so we're not going to see one of these early frenzy pickups that we're so accustomed to.
No, aggressive in that they are going to try and find picks onto enemy gods, but maybe not so much in the laning phase. Didn't super matter. If neither one picks it up, that means you're just playing the standard clear in lane, and so far the Order side team has been getting the better end of that one. Taking a peek at the builds in mid, though, Ferricrick goes for Conduit Gem immediately into the Chronos Pendant. He does not deal a whole lot of damage. He is not able to line up against this Tiamat on the other side.
Will be Sands of Time and the Spirit of Desolation. Calvin, I thought maybe he was going to line up for a pluck there, but ends up backing away. Picarino will just throw some damage out. It's been a poke war over in the dual lane too, but back over into the mid. It's French Emperor under fire. Half health on the Nemesis, but a good tail whip by Calvin, and a pluck will displace Jacob and make sure that he's got to think twice about stepping up to this mid lane. Ugly One rotating in from the solo lane. Fails, needs one swipe to get French Emperor. He will do so. A 1-for-1 trade in the mid lane.
Ugly One still pretty far up in the lane. Will use that dash to escape this time around. And you're right, man. We got the horrific emblem popped. Took 7 minutes, but we finally get to see some of that value. Panvich able to pick up an assist for himself, and Ferricrick still being accosted.
Needs one more auto. It'll be Calvin who grabs it this time around. So third time is the charm, or maybe actually this is even fourth time here.
Fourth, fifth, sixth,
who knows at this point here. But Picarino finally 7 minutes in will come up pay dirt here, making sure to get that kill onto Ferricrick. Put him in the grayscale screen. But ultimate beads are back up for Ferricrick next time around. Should, and probably will, Picarino get aggressive.
Man, Calvin is 2 levels up on Jacob right now. This Sobek is a lot tankier. He does more damage because he's got a scroll and a red buff. So expect fights to erupt around this Sobek, as long as ZZ gets to choose where they fight. Otherwise, Radical Rodents, I think, probably would prefer to play around the soul lane, would prefer to play around Fails in the jungle. Worth noting, though, Ugly One a little bit later on the rotation than Panvich. Spent that time clearing out those waves and has closed up that level gap and instead turned it around. Now 10 to Panvich's 9.
So far, it's been nice early control and mostly just early aggression out of ZINEDINE, especially around that mid lane, now transitioning itself over to the solo, even with the rotation from both of them. Ugly One will use that dazzling offensive to get aggressive against Panvich and make sure to take away that Eagles rally. Another net of safety gone now for the solo lane Bologna.
Yeah, not much to fight over on the map right now either. I don't think either team feels overly confident in their ability to force an engagement, so instead it's just poking and prodding, waiting for opportunities. Ferricrick has been stuck in his tower the entirety of this game. Calvin, though, whiffs the block.
Calvin also in danger of the walls, but the tail whip even better to get him away from the tremors and keep Jacob off of his back. Calvin, after a not-so-great pluck, manages to squeak himself out of that Tier 1 tower, keep himself alive, and keep worry away from the hearts of those in ZINEDINE.
Look, that's the tough part of having to play around a Yanis in your mid 3v3. He's got a pretty weak early game. You're doing like maybe 300 damage with the Unstable Vortex at this point. Portal's doing like 100 damage max, but it removes the enemy that you hit with it from the playfield, so you're removing the ability for the tower to deal damage there. You're stopping your allies from dealing damage as well. So had that been legitimately any other mid laner, I'm racking my brain, I don't think there's a single other mid laner in the game that wouldn't have gotten a kill there. Unfortunate.
Jacob trying to defend this red buff. Calvin finds the pluck against Farrakrick, and we'll get the beads off the Giannis once again. So Farrakrick will be without a relic. Zolat on the rotation over. Will find some good damage with the Suns, but a jump over the wall by Picarino, and ultimate to immune out the stun from Jacob. And French Emperor will turn around and get an Unstable Vortex, though, from Farrakrick through the wall. Finds Picarino to trade out a 1-for-1. French Emperor wants more blood, but Farrakrick is just too fast, and French Emperor has stepped up too far as Panvich's rotation from the solo lane comes up big.
Skills, low HP, hovering nearby. A lot of low HP targets on the other side as well. Zolat forced to use the bead. ZI Jutsu, just enough threat. Panvich, credit for the double, and Calvin can only watch on as his allies die. Ugly One does eventually make the rotation over, TPing to that tier 1 tower in the duo lane, but too little, too late. Maybe just making sure that Radical Rodents can't go towards that Gold Fury, but there was no threat of that there. ZZ, though, despite losing out on a couple of their lives, do get to maintain their gold lead, and it's still pretty significant. Radical Rodents weren't able to do much with that.
Ugly One, even despite not getting a double kill in that fight like Panvich did coming to the fight late, was able to get a lot of that farm to maintain at least a level, even level, if not maybe slightly ahead here. And still sticking around this mid lane, maybe posturing up towards Gold Fury. It is up. And there is one ward at the top end there by the Radical Rodent. Surely, though, Jacob has spotted this one out as it gets pulled over. But Gold Fury already down to half health. Jacob, very late on the rotation in, will not be able to steal that one away. Needs to be careful with his life here. Into the backline goes Ugly One with the dazzling offensive. Gets the ultimate out of Farrakrick. And that will be the disengage for the side of Radical Rodents. But Jacob might not be so fortunate to find a portal of his own. Skills rotates in to take him out.
Yeah, curious decision-making from Jacob there. It's just really low odds that he's able to steal away that objective. I guess being 0-2 before that fight, you're thinking to yourself, okay, even if I die, it's worth the attempt at getting the Gold Fury. If I get it, that's massive for the team. If I lose out on my life, I respawn pretty quickly and I'm not worth a whole lot. But even then, it is a little bit more. It is a little bit more of an advantage now for ZZ that they could rotate over towards the Pyromancer, root buff, and take that one as well. Now, both neutral objectives having fallen means that the game will likely stagnate for a fair bit. That said, it's going to stagnate favoring one side, and it's a side that's got a pretty massive gold lead for the 12-minute mark. This is one of the faster paces that we've seen from ZZ all day, and I consider myself an authority on their pacing because I got 3 games of data on it earlier.
I got their 3. Now we're working on Game 4. This Game 4, Game 5, and potentially even Game 6 if it ends up dragging out to that point. Mean that ZZ has had a lot of opportunities to try and control this game out here. Level 13-13 in the solo lane, not the biggest concern. The only real concerning level gap so far is this 2-level lead that Calvin has up over Jacob. Getting to that level 12, the most important part for really any god, but especially for those supports who don't quite get that experience as quickly.
Yeah, certainly. And Caprakan is a god that really wants to get in your face, really wants to get involved, needs those additional levels for the stats that you get just naturally from being a Guardian, but 2 levels down, not massive. It's still level 9. I think the most important thing is that Calvin will get access to that second relic a little bit more quickly than what we'll see from Jacob. It's been about 3 minutes, and Jacob's leveled up exactly once. He's been hovering there for a very long time. So if the Order side team can control the pacing even more so, maybe maintain Jacob under that level 12 threshold until this next neutral objective spawns, that will give them a significant advantage in the next team fight.
We do see another Spirit Robe pickup here, this one from Calvin on the Sobek. Second item immediately after that Gauntlet of Thebes, gets him a little bit of that extra CDR, but also gives him a little bit of that damage mitigation when he does eat one of those mini CCs that specifically Jacob, who would be one of the bigger ones to try and target him out here. So we'll see how well that pans out for Calvin earlier on. 4-4, 13.5 minutes in ZINEDINE, with a very slight lead, but that slight lead is still nothing to scoff at here, as it's posturing up close to the 3,000 mark. The mid-Harpies will go the way of Radical Rodents.
They will. Neither team. There's really not much to fight over, and it seems like both squads agree. You could say that potentially the Order side could start pushing in forward. Calvin doing so now with Picarino just peeking around the corner. Red buff will go to the Radical Rodents. You don't really have the best siege potential either, so going for a tier 1 tower, maybe not in the cards. It really is just, let's control the macro, let's get as much farm as we can on the map, let's wait for the next POI, and it's going to be a little while considering both went down, Gold Fury and Pyromancer, back to back. Radical Rodents, though, are not out of this game. They've got fight back to be sure. Camazot's going to hit some pretty significant power spikes very shortly. Serrated Edge starting to be worked on for the jungler of the Radical Rodents. Ferricrick finally starting to get some penetration, has just finished that Divine Ruin, now working into a magical focus, likely a Spear of Desolation, going to help out with that CDR as well. Yannis really needs that stat line if he wants to survive some of these engagements. And he's going to need it if he wants to survive the 1v1, man, because goodness gracious, Picarino has not left this tower line.
No, Picarino has been living on this side of the map, right here at this tier 1 tower line inside this right-hand jungle and bullying Ferricrick relentlessly since minute 1 of the game. And I'm curious as to where Jacob is going to go with the second relic. It's 4 sets of beads on the side of Radical Rodents. Panvich, after the Horrific Emblem, picked up beads at their level 12 relic, dealing with some of the CC that Calvin and that even Ugly One is able to throw out here. Picarino, if you really want to get a little spicy there. So I'm wondering, do you think Jacob does need to pick up a set of beads of his own?
Beads would help a lot, especially considering he's been the target in a lot of these fights. Calvin has not shied away from plucking the Cabrakan, so it would help with survivability. But I don't think it's necessary. If you're really quick, you can lock in. If you get plucked, you can drop the wall. Really, do you want to deliver a Cabrakan to your own backlines? If you're able to kill him quickly, yes, but eventually Jacob, regardless, is going to become a lot more survivable. We might see him go for something like a Heavenly, things like that. Just these team fight relics. Maybe even a Shell survives the pluck in, utilizes that time to find a wall into some of these priority targets, because French Emperor, Ugly One, Calvin, Skills, all of those guys really don't have any tools that can just get away from the cage.
Ugly One dives into the back around the red buff. Soul Laners have been a big part of this early game action so far in this game, as we've seen more rotations from the Soul Lane to these mid fights, to these left side lane fights, more times in this game than we've seen probably the entire day up until this point. And it's going to be 3 items deep for both of them. A Nemean Lion versus a Witchblade for Ugly One against Panvich there. So one trying to sustain through some of the auto attacks, one of them trying to reduce the amount of auto attacks that can be thrown out by one team.
Well, there's the answer to your question, J-Mac. Jacob does not go for the beads, instead picks up the belt for himself and his team. Going to give you a lot more power and the ability to look towards these neutral objectives. Not the strongest point of the Radical Rodents draft, but now with belt, maybe can generate some threat on the Fury, on the Pyromancer. And in clearing out both neutral objectives so quickly back-to-back last time around, they have a respawn right next to each other as well. So if the Radical Rodents are in a position where they don't want to take an engagement, where they don't feel like they can line up in the 5v5, they can just go ahead and split the map, trade out the what is now an Oni Fury for the Pyromancer.
It is belt for belt, as Calvin's picked one up himself here. And kind of taking a look at it, I mean, it was 11-9 as far as the XP was concerned for ZINEDINE's support versus the Radical Rodents support here, but now that's closed itself up to only 13 versus 12. It is belt to the Berserker here for Calvin. Massive incoming burst of damage the moment that you pop that one out. A lot of damage, a lot of attack speed, but it does diminish down, but it doesn't seem to have really affected many players' mentality. I mean, this seems to be the belt that everybody's going towards.
Hey, it's a lot of power real fast, and generally that's exactly what you need it for. It is going to be popped here. Oni Fury burning quickly.
Oni Fury down to a quarter health, fails, and Jacob trying to get in there, seal it, but will not be able to do so. Jacob thrown against the wall and right into the waiting arms of the French Emperor, who will take him down. Picarino finds Ferricrick on the top side of the Fury and fails. Wrapping around on this, Camazotz will just casually walk by Ugly One. But you might want to get that Bat Out of Hell queued up here, Fails, because now you're surrounded by 4. Does use it to get into the Tier 2 tower and even further beyond. Quick blink on landing. Gets this Camazotz out of there, but ZINEDINE still got their 2 picks and the Fury.
And a Tier 1 tower and a Tier 2 tower. Potentially could rotate over and do the Tier 1 in mid as well. Radical Rodents just walking in after the objective twice now. Jacob HL, first one in. But not there in time, goes in immediately after the Gold Fury, loses his life. Ferricrick isolated yet again. We have not seen this Yannis do a whole lot just yet. Doug, can we get a look at the damage charts, actually? I want to see how much Ferricrick's been able to do, and it is It's all right. 5,000, about the center of the chart. He's been throwing out some poke, I suppose, when he's been getting dove so consistently in this game. But now, this is the largest separation as of yet, and the Order team can start to move on over towards this Fire Giant because they are playing with massive experience and gold lead.
6,000 gold up. Pyromancer will expand that just a little bit further here. And will only leave now the Fire Giant still on the map. Frenzy won't be back up here. This belt not up for another 20 seconds, so maybe we wait to see if ZINEDINE waits till that one comes back up. Instead, they'll turn their attentions to Panvich, and we'll get the Eagles rally out of the Bellona. French Emperor dies in with the ult and slice and dice, but Panvich just a little too far back in the tower, not too concerned with what French Emperor is throwing out. Maybe it's Fails who should be concerned. A lot of damage thrown through, needs one more auto from Skills, and he will find it. Now Jacob caught in the middle of 3 portal. We'll give him a little bit of a ways out here. Faircrick helping out the support.
Not much dive left to be had, but they know that Zolot is all the way on the left side of the map. Fails dead for 30 seconds. They've got decent eyes on Panvich as well, and without that ultimate, the Eagles rally. Not a whole lot of steal potential. Order side, walking into the Fire Giant, take it away absolutely for free. 0 fight back from the Radical Rodents, and I don't know if they're going to dig. If they're not going to dig in their heels there, where will it be? Tier 2 towers. Not exactly a great defense point. Yanis, a non-traditional mage, really does struggle in a siege defense situation. Could be that they just allow, Radical Rodents that is, ZINEDINE to just walk in, take the towers, and have to take the fight around their own Phoenix.
It's looking like that's where the main defense is going to have to be, because they didn't have it for the Tier 2 defense. They lost their fight at the Gold Fury, and that caused them to lose the 2 towers on left side. And now they only have Tier 2s left to defend, aside from those Phoenixes sitting right behind, one in left lane. Left open and exposed here, and it seems that's where ZINEDINE is starting to push their attention towards, at least for now. We could see them rotate over into mid. Maybe just allow Picarino to throw out some of those lizards in the lane and get a little bit of extra push going on.
Yeah, I'm really glad you didn't take that 10K bet, man. That's awesome for me, because it is not looking good for the Radical Rodents right now. It is a slight grouping in the Tier 2. Faircrick gotta play safe. That is a dangerous play, just tossing out the portal in hopes of poke. You're losing out on escape. This could force a situation now, had we seen Calvin go for the dive, where Faircrick is forced to use that ultimate real early on, or even those beads. But luckily, gets away with it this time around. Tier 2 towers still standing in mid and the right lane for the Radical Rodents, and it's going to be a slow push here. ZIDANE taking their time, rotating across the map. We got 2 in left, make that 1, just the Nemesis. We got 3 in mid and 1 in right. They've got a lot of time to play with, 2.5 minutes on this Fire Giant, but still a pretty slow pace.
Yeah, they've been buying their time here with this Fire Giant buff. Haven't really gotten much from it just yet, but now we finally have Skills and Calvin pushing into this Tier 2 tower in mid. That one will go swiftly to the boys of ZIDANE with only 1 left standing. They'll send Ugly One to push up those minion waves, but minion waves not really going to slow down ZIDANE anytime soon. So they can easily make their way over there and take that last tower, but that's only going to leave them about 1.5 minutes left on this buff. And Mifflin, with that little amount of time, do you still try and force one of these Phoenixes?
I would, but I'm a filthy North American mud battle player, man. Born and raised in the States. I'm one to go in for fights where I'm not even necessarily always favored. And this is Europe. These guys, they take it slow. They're methodical. Elegant, I think, is the right way to describe their play. And you know what, man? They are not going to leave it up to risk, especially in a high-stakes, loser-sent-home type of set.
Every single time we pan back to Picarino, he is right at Faircrick's throat with that Primordial Onslaught. It's always taking about half of his health on a single poke out there. I mean, you do have a very slight lead as far as the XP is concerned, 20 to level 19, but a full item up here with this, with the Obsidian Shard, the double flat pen, and a Rod of Tahuti. I mean, Picarino is sitting for not quite true damage, but it might as well be up against this Giannis.
He sure is, man. I mean, yeah, might as well be. There's no defense for Faircrick on the other side, so all that damage is ringing true for Picarino, and he realizes it. He's been positioning very aggressively in a lot of these fights. The last couple times Radical Rodents have even dedicated time to chasing out this Tiamat has really only baited them out of position. 30 seconds left on the Fire Giant. Surprised to see this. We're approaching a Phoenix.
Faircrick throws the Minotaur out to chase Faircrick away, and as soon as Jacob steps up, he's already gone. Skills with the first kill of the team fight, through space and time, thrown out, but it will not find a home onto anybody from ZINEDINE. One pick on the left side, allows for the left side Phoenix to now go down. The boys in blue will march their way over to the mid-Phoenix.
Time to pick up that mid-Phoenix as well. Nobody from Radical Rodents willing to step forward. They saw what happened to Jacob HL when he had the gall to step up even a little.
Panvich plucked back, half health, even further than that, and no Eagles rally to escape the wrath of ZINEDINE ZIDANE. 9 kills only in this first game, 24 minutes in, and ZINEDINE are pushing towards the Titan. Bat out of hell from Fails is not going to do the damage that they had hoped for to slow this one down. And ZZ comes up with the win in game number 1.
Yeah, Radical Rodents just didn't have any pressure in either of their lanes, or is there an either for 3?
Any. Or you can just go with, I guess, any of
They
their
didn't have
lanes.
any pressure in neither of their lanes, and it just really allowed ZZ to do whatever it is that they wanted on the map, and what they wanted was wins. Every single neutral objective, every bit of macro farm, all favoring the Order side team, and if that's the case and it goes uncontested for 20 entire minutes, well, it's probably going to be that team that wins.
Impressive performance here in game 1 out of ZINEDINE ZIDANE. We'll see if the Radical Rodents can bounce back in game number 2. Welcome back to the European Smite Challenger Circuit qualifiers. 2 more spots up for grab, and with a win here in game number 1, ZINEDINE ZIDANE are poised to try and take that 5th spot away from the Radical Rodents. And with a game like we had here in game number 1, I mean, complete control throughout the entirety of the match, and really just aggressive play across the board, especially kind of panning over towards that mid lane. Picarino did not give Fenrir an inch to breathe.
No, and generally when a Tiamat is standing on tower line for 20 actual minutes, I'm not good at math, 20 times 60, what is that? It's a lot, it's a big number. That's how many seconds it was. He was there the entire time. That would open up the door for like a jungler to show up. You'd expect like maybe Kamazot's like leaps on hits him with like a vampiric bats or like a screech first actually, because that's the combo, because you want the additional power, and then your vampiric bats are doing more damage, and so is the bat out of hell. But my man just stood on that tower line, and he said, yo, I dare somebody to walk up to me, and nobody did, except for this Yanis, and, well, he died a lot. Fenrir was not allowed to have any fun in that lane. ZINEDINE ZIDANE, these are the hardest games to analyze, because legitimately nothing went right for Radical Rodents at any point, ever. Full stop. End stent. I'm ending my sentence right now. Watch this. Period.
There it is right there. I didn't even realize that one kill in the mid lane that Calvin got on a Fenrir was actually the Scepter getting that kill. That's the second time that we've now seen these supports snagging kills away with that little ability there. But just complete control from minute 1 here from ZINEDINE. I mean, they stepped on the gas in the duo lane. They stepped on the mid lane, specifically Picarino. And then once we get to these late game fights, I mean, it's just more gold and more XP across the map for ZINEDINE to close this one out. I mean, it was a low kill count game to say the least here. 13 to close this one out. And Picarino 2, 1, and 7, a part of every single one of the kills. The only person on his team to be a part of every one of the kills for ZZ.
He was the one forcing them. He was there. He said, either you guys fight around me or we're not fighting. And that really was what had happened. If Picarino was alive, he was walking up, and he was forcing his team to come with him. I think, if anything, the Radical Rodents either need to pick a mid laner that can fight back, like, at all, because Yanis doesn't really do that, doesn't have that capacity, especially up against, like, things that are meta right now. Tiamat, Agni, Yanis, not Yanis, God, why'd I say that? Thoth. All really, really make it hard for this Yanis to survive. He doesn't have as strong wave clear. He doesn't have the ability to kind of tussle over these mid camps. He really doesn't love that 1v1. He doesn't utilize the flat pen build nearly as well either. If you pull a lead on Yanis, that god will dominate. Don't get it twisted. That god is really strong from ahead, but like in an even state, man, it's so hard to fight with him.
It's important in these games too, in these game 2s, to see how teams adapt to what happened in game number 1. Let's see if Radical Rodents have made a change here. Picks and bans ZINEDINE ZIDANE and the Radical Rodents. And it will be ZINEDINE once again taking this first pick. Last time around, they got Amaterasu as a first pick, and then it gave up a Bellona and a Cabrakan to the opposite side for Radical Rodents here.
Good
but with
memory.
how much priority, thank you, but how much priority was thrown towards Tiamat, at least for ZINEDINE banning that one away, and for how much Fenrir liked this god, I was really surprised that Radical Rodents didn't top 2 that Tiamat away from them.
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, maybe Radical Rodents were just assuming, like, hey, Tiamat isn't, like, the cream of the crop right now, so not many teams are trying to pick it up for themselves and weren't expecting ZINEDINE ZIDANE to take it, and, well, now they can. They can expect that in the future. I doubt we see it banned out, though. It really is just that next best thing. Like, I put it in, like, Merlin tier compared to those other highly meta picks. But if Radical Rodents feel like it's a little bit stronger than I'm giving it credit for, maybe we see it here.
One thing they are giving a lot of credit to is this Nemesis banned away from the French Emperor. And there will be some priority this time around. Radical Rodents will top 2 it, not giving ZINEDINE an opportunity to pick up that potent mid laner. So it'll be Amaterasu, first pick for ZINEDINE, no surprise there. Tiamat and now an Osiris locked in. Another heavy priority solo laner that's been locked in with decent success. I mean, 11 games played so far, 64% win rate. Can't argue with trying to top 2 this god.
No, and now the Radical Rodents have essentially shored up a lot of the weaknesses that we saw last time. Osiris, phenomenal lane bully, should be able to match up the ability to fight with Amaterasu, has great sustain, one of the best death toll users in the game. And you don't have a Yanis in mid, so you're not forfeiting mid pressure immediately. You can fight back in. You still will likely struggle if it's something like a Thoth or an Agni, but it's going to be a Soul, so you're not going to struggle all that much in the laning phase. I like what we see from the Radical Rodents already. They said, hey, we lost out in early pressure. How do you beat early pressure? You either pick something that really, really scales super hard at the 40-minute mark and pray that you get there. That will win you a game. Or you draft early pressure and, put your hands on the levers of power.
Radical Rodents will round out their top 3 with a Hachiman, but over back to ZINEDINE going with the draft that they pulled out in Game 3 of their last set with a top 3 Amaterasu, Fafnir, and a Soul. So once again, going for this very objective-heavy composition. The one thing they are lacking this time is they're not going to be able to have the Nemesis that brought them that success in their Game 3 up against Thunderhead. We'll see what changes get made. First ban is going to be that Kleena, Radical Rodents taking away that high-damage assassin.
Yeah, removes the ability to go towards that objective style of play, right? It's what we saw from ZINEDINE ZIDANE in Game 3 of their last set there. It's, hey, we got a Fafnir, we got a Soul, and we're going to run it down at Gold Furies, at Pyromancers. They're going to get removed from the map nearly instantly. Kleena fits that style incredibly well, as does Daji, but still a couple of auto-attack junglers that I think will fit the styling of ZINEDINE ZIDANE. Surprised that Erlong Shen hasn't been higher up on their own individual tier list, because like he's locking in the Nemesises of the world. You might as well think like, hey, who else auto attacks really well? The guy who brings a dog that helps you out with it, and also is one of the best Mannequin Scepter users in the game. Maybe we see that get picked up here, but I'm like pulling a bunny out of a hat with that call, man, because we have not seen Erlong Shen from them before. But what we have seen is a whole lot of this. Thor bans, not picks.
Yeah, only 2 pickups so far, and I believe that was Zero who was doing those at that time, if I remember correctly. I'm not 100% off the top of the dome right there, but Thor and Thoth currently being hovered now and locked in by ZINEDINE ZIDANE. So a lot of that long-range artillery-style play, the ability to really dive that mid lane or any of these side lanes from a long distance with the help of that Thor. But there's the Erlong Shen, not on the team that you thought it would be, though. It's going to be the Radical Rodents. And I think you're right to bring up, there's been a distinct lack of this guy. I mean, you look at the stats, only 20% pick ban rate, 3 games played, and so far only 1 here in the EU SEC. Maybe it's just this region, or maybe it's just the SEC in general right now, do not seem to be putting a high priority towards this Erlong Shen.
Couldn't tell you why, man. He hits really hard. He's got really strong early game. He'll facilitate some of these late game scalers that this region in particular really likes to pick up. Has got decent ability to kind of transition that build more so into a bruiser, becoming an initiator in the late game with 9 turns blessing. You become very survivable. I think that Erlong Shen may be a little bit undervalued right now. Certainly has received some nerfs throughout the last couple of years, so maybe less valuable than what we saw back when he was dominating the meta, but still certainly good.
We'll see how well it works out here. Game number 2, Radical Rodents on the back foot need this win to stay alive and keep their chances of moving into the SEC alive here, but ZINEDINE going with a comp that worked fairly well for them earlier on in the day. Gods that have worked out so well for them, but French Emperor, a new look on him here with this Thor. I think that's where my eyes are going to be peeled more than anything else. We are seeing the double teleport, though. We haven't seen much teleport in the last few sets and the last couple of weeks here, as we've seen some of those nerfs to it. But this time around, both solo laners are going to be picking up that relic.
Yeah, the ability to get involved on the opposite side of the map, or more likely throughout the early portions, just get back to your lane and not miss out on some of that farm, has good ability to transition to that late game. You can start teleporting to wards. It's essentially acting as a second life. I like to call like teleport at the 25-minute mark essentially just a Chronos ult. You go back to base, you go get your full HP, and you immediately rejoin the engagement with your team. So no arguments here. Probably going to get some more value from teleport than you did Horrific Emblem in Game 1. I think we only saw that popped once before they ticked over to level 12. No complaints from the solo laners. I like the relic starters for both junglers. Eye of the Jungle on Thor is just about as standard as it gets, and then you've got the Mannequin Scepter because Erlong Shen just smacks in the early game. I am expecting this time around, though, Radical Rodents, and specifically while we're speaking about the junglers fails, need to see more from him, man. He had a super quiet game in Game 1 on a very aggressive pick, has a similarly incredibly aggressive pick here. Time to use it.
So Latin Danger, leap in, but no hammer out of Calvin available to try and strike that first blood in duo. Instead it'll just be poke from skills on that Stellar Burst. But here's where we get to see kind of that Mannequin Scepter highlighted as these quick back camp invades. A leap in by Jacob, double stun, caught him on both tails there of the Belch. They're not going to get much more follow-up than there. I do want to go towards these Hunters, though, just for their builds. The Helmet and Gilded, really no surprise out of skills. Maybe the most surprising one, though, Zolat, starting towards Devourer's Gauntlet.
Hey, we don't know, you know? We haven't seen Devourer's Gauntlet. That could be like a Blood Forge, like a Soul Eater.
Do you think it will be, though?
No, it's probably Devourer's Gauntlet. You nailed it, man. It's a good bit of power. It's decent lifesteal. It means that you don't have to go towards Aussie later on in the build. I like it.
Jacob in danger of Aid and Punish. We'll set up for the kill for French Emperor to strike where the Iron Todd. First blood goes the way of ZINEDINE ZIDANE, and they'll put it onto the jungler here right out the gates.
Early pickup, man. And this is twice now where Jacob has struggled to find his footing in the early game. Luckily, at the 1 minute mark, it's not going to matter too much. If anything, Picorino sacrificing a couple minions to his tower might hurt him a little bit more so. I believe he misses out on 2 minions worth of XP and 3 minions worth of gold. That's going to add up slowly, especially considering Fenrir playing a slightly more aggressive pick, might be able to fight back more so this time around. But ZINEDINE getting ahead of the ball, trying to get involved, put Fails on the back foot, make sure that Radical Rodents aren't the ones choosing their aggression, is massive, especially against a draft like what Radical Rodents have. They really want to find that early lead.
Radical Rodents trying to push something here into the dual lane. A lot of CC up on a French Emperor. Pen will force the hammer out of French Emperor. He gets out of the way of the stun just in time. He's going to need some help from Ugly One, who will make sure to step in the way and allow his jungler to make it out of there. Blue buff invade goes the way of Radical Rodents. ZINEDINE's jungler just thankful that his soul laner was there to help him out.
Are you sure? I'm pretty sure we saw French Emperor with the fadeaway Berserker's Barrage, like the opposite direction, finish off that blue buff. It was on 11 HP. Neither team going to pick up that blue buff. Would have thought Radical Rodents would have just grabbed it if they stole it, but Ugly One doesn't go over towards it either. I don't know, man. I don't know. Are you confident?
I'm gonna be honest, I'm not 100%. I'm like 99% sure there, but
10K.
Okay, we're not doing that one on a blue buff out of all things here, Mifflin. But starting out this game early, getting that first blood onto French Emperor, gonna allow him to get his gold online just a little bit quicker with that extra bounty. Means that Jotun's Wrath can finish up a little bit quicker. And if you are French Emperor here, Mifflin, against this comp, where are you trying to put that priority for that first big dunk?
First dunk, probably send it Zolot's way, or maybe you try and pick up Jacob HL just because he doesn't have beads. You could also head over towards that soul lane because Ugly One's got great chase down potential off the tail end of that Anvil of Dawn. Even if Panvich uses Lord of the Afterlife to escape, you can just trust that the Amaterasu should be able to lock him down. Anyone who doesn't have beads, honestly, is going to be a pretty decent target. If you could find Fails in the jungle, you don't have a whole ton of burst at level 5 as Thor, but as long as one other person is there, that Erlong Shen would struggle to survive. You just gotta choose your spots. Wherever you have an ally, honestly. That's how strong that CC is. Just the stun.
Well, that first dunk is going to go on top of Fails this time around, but the wall just a little bit off the mark to find Fails. It does catch Fenrir and gets the beads from this Tiamat. Pin and a final judgment out of Picorino. Doesn't get the kill on a Fenrir double tap.
Nice.
Not quite enough damage, but it does poke Fenrir back. Beads expended from the mid laner. Fails didn't have them, but didn't end up needing him this time.
French Emperor actually got bodied by DR there. Calvin goes for the hammer early, sets up for the ultimate for Thor, and that means that you don't have enough time off of Thor's ultimate to line up that wall for the double tap. Fails, just turtles away.
This time, blue buff does go to Ugly One. Panvich is all by themselves up against 3, but the stun will find its way onto French Emperor, and that will be enough for Panvich to make their way out of that blue buff invade. This time successful for ZINEDINE to secure that buff and make sure that their soul laner gets to be happy they can hold on to a buff. And with this obelisk spawned in, majority of the control has so far gone the way of Radical Rodents, as their obelisk is the one most filled up for the time being, and will slowly continue to go up there as long as they can hold some of this mid lane pressure.
That's actually a really sick caster pro tip you just dropped. Like I've been like looking at the map and like trying to figure out which camps are dropped. You could just like look at the obelisk and see which one's like more full. That's good, J-Mac. I like that.
There you go. You can also look at the golden rings around the different camps. For those at home who don't know, the golden rings around the camp mean that that's going to be your offering camp. So if that one is up, you want to probably prioritize getting a little bit of pressure over there.
Yeah, look how much stronger they are, too.
They hurt.
They really do. Sometimes I see mid laners try and pick those up around the early game on their own, and they just get like hard bodied. And I'm like, yeah, man, don't touch my camps.
Yeah, you don't.
In the future, just don't go there.
You don't have that first item up. You're at like 300 health. You're like, I can just go get this camp real quick. No, it is going to destroy you. I have seen one too many times in games. Hasn't happened to me just yet, but I have seen it happen before, and it's always an awkward moment.
It is. Maybe an awkward moment here as we see a good stun onto Calvin, but no commitment from Jacob HL. Fails hovering nearby. Thought maybe there was an opportunity for a blink engage, but Fafnir incredibly safe at this point in the game. No reason to commit onto him. Radical Rodents, though, do have the advantage around their jungler. Woo! Never mind. He's missing. 80% of him's gone.
Yeah, Fails is now MIA. He has to leave as the rest of his team tries to buy some time for him to get that distance there. Final Judgment started up and then canceled. And that's always kind of how you know when these soft players are really getting trigger happy, is when they get that first little channel up, then they cancel it, they maybe get a second one. At that point, that's when you got to realize, okay, they really want to start something out here. Unless they're just being one of those Thoth players that likes to be like the Mercuries who walk around and just keep tapping 4 here. But you lose out a little bit more with those Thoth, a little bit of mana taken away each time.
I don't think French Emperor or
Did they not see
Calvin
him?
saw Zolot. I'm not even sure if Zolot saw them, man. This is a Scooby-Doo episode. These guys just walking past each other. Purple buff invade should go to ZINEDINE ZIDANE, but Zolot narrowly escapes with his life, and I'm not even sure if he knew.
I don't think anybody knew what was going on there. Then he sees them at the purple and goes, oh,
Yeah, my bad.
you're over here. I'm sorry. I'm just going to go back to my tower, back to my lane, and do my own thing here. Is down a little bit in XP compared to skills level 8 to level 7, who just now, for Zola at least, procced into 7. So only a tad bit behind, about a half level XP. And the shoe's now on the other foot as far as the mid lane is concerned. Ferricrick is the one getting advantage over Picorino as far as the XP is concerned, as far as this pressure has been out there. Just like Picorino was throwing out those ones constantly up against Ferricrick on the Giannis, Ferricrick returning the favor now in Game 2.
Which is not exactly how you'd expect that matchup to go, because Thoth has similar ability to poke, but from a further range, like a little bit outside the range of Tiamat. But instead, I guess stepping up a little bit too far has allowed Ferricrick to win out on the majority of these engagements. And you're right, about a half level now, favoring the mid laner of the Radical Rodents, who is just against the double flat pen start. This man does not want to do it. Restored Artifact in the second slot. I'm going to guess Chronos Pendant because he seems to really favor CDR. It's going to help out a fair bit. We'll get you up to 30% with that Spear of Desolation that you've already finished.
Zola narrowly escapes death here. Skills was just a moment away, just an auto attack's distance away from being able to stop that back from Zolat. And that also loses out on the ultimate from French Emperor, who tried to make that rotation in. Quick hammer will get the jungler out. Calvin gets stunned by that ruination from Ferricrick. Transformation into the dragon form for Calvin means they'll be able to find a way at least out of the fight, get them some extra safety, but it's a leap back in by Calvin. Now he's used all of his CC and all of his mobility. Final Judgment clips through, but that's not going to do anything for Calvin. Radical Rodents can finally strike back.
That was a nutty leap in for Calvin. My man was alone. I guess he's like, yeah, Picorino's got range. And he's right, Picorino does have range, but Picorino's also a level 9 Thoth at the 9-minute mark. Doesn't really help you in a 1 versus 3. Calvin didn't realize, I think, Panvich was on the way, but I don't think it mattered that Panvich was on the way either. Fafnir trades out his life, and Radical Rodents, they take their 1, and they're done.
And they will take a very small gold lead back here away from ZINEDINE, about 400 or 500 to the way of the Radical Rodents. XP has been slowly favoring them throughout this game between the mid, jungle, holding a little bit of a gap here, and even this Bacchus that's been relatively quiet as far as Jacob is concerned so far ever since that first blood. But he's been able, even despite going down first, to bring himself ahead of Calvin.
Yeah, Calvin just like inted, so
True.
he spent a little bit of time in the grayscale, whereas Jacob HL was farming up on the map. Still a dead even match. Generally, it's that 12, 13, 14-minute mark where we see these two teams start to look towards these objectives. Advantage around the objective, favoring ZINEDINE ZIDANE, just because you've got the Amaterasu passive to play around, as well as a Soul and a Fafnir with Coerce. So given the opportunity, we could see the order side just go for an objective. Ferricrick uses the beads to avoid the teleport in that does not come his way. Instead, just eats that damage from the hammer and puts a target on his back. French Emperor now knows no Aegis available just yet to Ferricrick, no beads up either. You have to be in the quadrupedal stance to even get CC immunity for your kit. Might be time for a Thor Dunk.
We do have a finished up Devourer's Gauntlet now for Zolat, so that full lifesteal on board for the Hunter here. And I mean, what a lane you get to do it as, and probably one of the safer gods to kind of go with a build like that. I mean, Hachiman is not a god who's often going to be wanting to pick a fight. Soul does a lot of damage in the early game, but also doesn't typically want to pick a lot of these early game fights. So for now, Radical Rodents have been able to get a lot of their farming, get a lot of their stacking up to bring themselves to this very small lead.
They have been. It was a Chronos Pendant for Ferricrick in mid, so good deal of CDR here. Does tick over to level 12 and picks up his Aegis in that same breath, whereas Picorino, still at level 11, won't have that defense available.
Radical Rodents start up Pyro, dunk in by the French Emperor, finds only Panvich. And an ultimate out of Ugly One too. Double ults expended for basically nothing there. No beads, no ultimate out of Panvich, nothing there for two massive ultimates on the side of ZINEDINE.
Yeah, but even then, what can Radical Rodents do with that timing? Do they reset themselves back towards that Pyromancer, try and pull it out? Doesn't seem like they're confident enough to do so just yet. So we might just see, yet again, the game fizzle a little bit while these guys get their cooldowns back and available. It is worth noting, Fails has Crusher, has Mannequins, is Erlong Shen. As long as it's like just him and Panvich, they could very easily rotate over towards that Pyro, probably do it themselves. It'd take a little bit longer than I think they would like, though. So instead, back to farming. Let's get those back camps. Let's get these neutrals under control. Gold, dead even. Experience just about even across the board. Largest separation we're seeing is like one level here or there.
Calvin leaps in, then splits the Oracle Heartbeats with Jacob and Ferricryk. So that 1-1 means neither team is going to get the vision around that Gold Fury. Not the ideal spot there for Radical Rodents, but at least as long as ZINEDINE doesn't get that vision themselves, then I guess they can't be too upset here. A lot of players going back and picking up some items. Ring of Hecate and a tier 2 ring now for skills. Spirit Robe one more time out of Calvin, and the second flat pen item now for Picarino will be once again that Spear of the Magus.
I wonder if we see French Emperor like stop dunking for a little while. It does have that Transcendence in the second slot, so wants to get that one stacked up before he's feeling powerful enough to really stick around in these fights. That evolution can give you some CDR, some more power, some more mana. So, slower start. We're going to help out a lot in the late game, like the late game where generally Thor starts to fall off. Now if he decides he'll have the scaling of Transcendence, could even go towards like a Hydra's Lament in this next slot, which just seems to be what he's going to do, a little bit additional percent penetration. And then this style of build, generally you follow it up with like a Rune Forged Hammer. You're always applying CC with Thor because that's what the dunk is, that is what the combo is. So additional 20% just damage overall to anyone affected by your CC could go a long way, especially with a build that already has this much front-loaded power in it.
He's got a lot of other gods around him to really support it, too. I mean, you throw Ugly One who can set something up. Calvin has a double stun in that dragon form, so wouldn't be upset with seeing a Runeforged Hammer here, though for now, going into that very early Morningstar in that tree, could be Heartseeker, could be Hydra's with the recent buff we'd seen out of it. The extra 10% pen has made it a lot more favorable by other junglers. We'll see where French Emperor decides to line his pocket on that item. Instead, we either start off with a Gold Fury, maybe just a heat check here. For now, it's going down quickly. Skills, putting a lot of damage in there with the autos. Ultimate canceled out by Picarino. Charge back up one more time. Will crash through, but only find Jacob. Dunk in the backline. Onto Ferricryk by French Emperor. And Skills is when it comes up with the kill onto Jacob. A dive in by Ugly One, but he doesn't have the ultimate. A lot of CC held out here. Panvich is keeping everybody back. Ferricryk's got the damage to take out Picarino. But it's going to be another trade out. Skills gets the double kill, a 2 for 2, and make it a 3 as Skills picks up the triple kill and a lot of sustain back through on the Soul. But he's not going to win the 1v1 up against Fails, and neither will Panvich unless he can get a lucky shot here and get some help to take out Calvin.
Yeah, and he does not need much help. Calvin, de-transforming from the dragon, might be able to jump himself out of this situation. It is a 3-for-3 trade, but the French Emperor and Calvin a little bit worse for wear here. Jacob HL fell down early, now has finally respawned. Calvin, no leap. Maybe stuck around a little too long, man. Was it worth it for the wave? It was worth it. My man got that farm and he got out of there. He knows his limits. That's limit checking, but he knew all along. That wasn't even a check. He was letting everybody else know.
Completely calculated, as he will call it, since he made it out. If he didn't make it out, it was calculated, but he was bad at math at that point in time. But Calvin does get out, so it only ends up being a 3-for-3. But all three of the kills for ZINEDINE do end up going on to Skills with this Soul. Radical Rodents holding on to a pretty nice gold lead even after that fight. A small spike back up towards ZINEDINE and then right back to the side of Radical Rodents here. It does allow for Skills to finish up a Telkind's ring. But looking across the board so far, Zolat has already got a full 3 items deep himself. With a rather, I'm just going to say, a rather interesting build so far on this Hachiman.
So when you say interesting, are you saying interesting like Merriam-Webster interesting, like you're actually interested, or are you saying caster interesting, like you don't like it?
Both.
I see. I agree. It's like a Season 7 build, you know? Like Executioner, Odysseus' bow. You're going to deal decent damage, or you're getting a lot of AoE for your team. Maybe he's worried about the lack of AoE from the rest of the draft. I mean, Fails and Panvich, largely single target, generally ADC going to be the same. Now, at least, Odysseus' bow will spread that damage evenly, as well as keep some of these blinks in control for ZINEDINE and ZIDANE. I'm now checking their relics, and there are no blinks for ZINEDINE and ZIDANE, so no blinks under control from Odysseus' bow, which was one of the generalized strengths of that item. Anytime you apply damage, nobody can use their relic anymore, but just going to get some AoE. That's all it's for. And attack speed. It's a good attack speed stim.
A lot of attack speed here to couple up with the Heavenly Banner that was dropped. Gold Fury down to half health. Calvin stunned by the damage of Fenrir. Up in the sky, though, French Emperor. Who is his target going to be? Where will he drop that dunk? It's on top of Jacob. Maybe not the most ideal target for them for now. Calvin transforms into the Draconic form and has to use that leap to get himself out because he's the one who's eating the majority of this damage through. Pin is good, and Calvin has nowhere to go. It's Fenrir who picks up the kill. An ugly one may have stepped just a little too far forward. A leap in by Jacob. And even with that intoxication, though, it's not enough to take out the solo laner. But Picarinu, what are you doing back in the middle of 3, buddy?
Dying. He's dead. Zolot puts him in a tomb. And Gold Fury going to join him very shortly. The Radical Rodents pick this one up of a clean team fight. And that's all off the back of French Emperor. Dunking onto a tank. Jacob saying, oh, word. I am a tank, by the way. Re-engages himself. And then French Emperor forced to use the hammer to retreat. So that's like 10 seconds or so while this Thor is waiting for his cooldowns to come back up before he can get re-involved. Picarino tries to peel out with damage, trades his own life in trade, and from there, Ugly One was the only frontliner remaining standing, and if there's only one guy left there, you probably remove him from the map as well. Radical Rodents doing a good job of just controlling the pacing of that team fight, controlling the spacing of it as well, and take away the neutral objective.
Panvich has been getting a lot of value with this Lord of the Afterlife. He got it in the last big fight that we had that ended up being a 3-for-3. I think he dunked into the middle of 2 or 3 different people. And then in this fight there, used it as perfect zone control, holding Calvin out now. 4-6 is the kill count here. Radical Rodents in the lead on kills, in the lead in gold and XP. So far, skills here with this double ring build. We saw it previously out of the Soul, and another set up here. Just follow up with a Ratatouille, technically, I guess, after going with only a tier 1 ring. Don't know if we'll see that here, though, in game 2.
Yeah, it depends on how much gold he has. If he can afford Ratatouille, he's going to buy Ratatouille.
The old Lassus mentality.
Yeah, but this is like a very low penetration build for skills. Man, decimates objectives. Don't get it twisted. He destroys them. And he's got okay tank shred thanks to the Telkine's ring, but he really is flourishing when he's lined up against Zolot, when he's lined up against Fails or Ferricrick, the carries of the Radical Rodents. That's where skills is going to find its value. It will be the ring pickup this time. Could not afford the Ratatouille, but Demonic Grip, there's that penetration we were worried about.
Finally gets a little bit more there. Some extra attack speed, but most important, like you highlight, that percent pen that comes from the Demonic Grip. 10% per auto attack that you land onto a target, which will be a nice little boost here for skills. We're seeing kind of the first real big grouping on this right side of the map, though, by both of these teams. Pyro and Fire Giant are up. Radical Rodents will at least start up the Pyromancer. Only Calvin is here to try and answer the call to try and stop this one for now, but not sure that Calvin's going to be able to do it. Final Judgment used to try and take it away, but the Radical Rodents secure the Pyromancer, and now Calvin has got to transform to try and either get himself out of this fight or get it back going. In the backlight goes French Emperor, dunks onto 2. A leap in by Panvich will find skills, and this Soul has nowhere left to run as the solo laner is chopping away.
Ugly One left high and dry will fall down immediately afterward. French Emperor goes in at 4 on his own.
He will get a stun onto 3 of them, but he's surrounded by those same 4. Zolot cleans out the kill, and a Pyromancer +3 go the way of the Radical Rodents, and Picarino with no ultimate and nothing left to his name will have to creep himself on over to the left side of the map to get away from the Rodents.
You know, there's so much time until ZINEDINE responds that you got to think that Fire Giant should be the call here. Thought maybe we'd see it back and then immediately rotate back in. Instead, everybody from the Radical Rodents said, all right, let's just go heal, use your life steal, clear a wave, let's regroup, pick up the fire, and that's exactly what they do. With 20 seconds left on French Emperor still on the respawn, I think a tier 1 tower is going to be pretty easy to pick up. Panvich was working on that the entire time, realizing that he was not needed for the neutral objective. But Golden Pocket is not Golden Build, so Radical Rodents will likely reset themselves fully before we see them take up that siege in earnest. Imagine we see them group up on the left-hand side of the map first, or the exact opposite, the right-hand side. Might as well just play the fence here. If you start on the right, that means that Radical Rodents aren't really keeping their eyes on the Phoenix. Instead, they're just trying to clear the board of towers. If they start on the left, they want a Phoenix. That's my hard read.
Let's see where they elect to go. So far, 2 walking up through the mid lane, but there are some buff camps up on the side of Radical Rodents, most boldly the red over there for Ferricrick. Purple buff coming up for Zolat. ZINEDINE are grouping up themselves in this left side jungle. Fury's up in just under a minute, but it doesn't seem that that should be a priority for ZINEDINE, at least at this time. But Radical Rodents are grouping up 3 now on this left-hand side, so maybe it is that Phoenix that they want to grab out here. Taking a look across the board for the builds, it is a double belt of Berserker picked up by the supports once again. But Calvin has gone for this Entangling Wings. Don't think we got to really see it in that last team fight, though.
Yeah, he loves just jumping in Dwarf stance and then dropping Entangling Wings and then turning into Dragon stance. You lock him down, you're able to apply that damage from the ultimate a little bit more easily. Speaking of easy, Fails takes away the ultimate from this soul, and Calvin takes this soul away from Fafnir. He's down to 50% HP.
Calvin's got to jump away from Panvich, who is still not quite giving up. Set up for the rest of the team. Bell to the Berserker, popped in the left-hand side, but that final judgment clips Farrakrick. He's got to be forced away. French Emperor just needs one solid dunk in, and that will do the deed. Farrakrick is gone. French Emperor teleports himself on out. Fails his low, but gets a big heal back from that ultimate. Calvin low, and Panvich is chopping away at everybody this time around. One goes down. It's French Emperor to Zolat, and Panvich will be able to find this one up against Ugly One, but might need a little bit of help to make this one go a little bit cleaner.
Fails, doesn't connect the pin, so Ugly One gets to walk away for free. Left side Phoenix, though, not nearly as lucky. Will fall down. Skills with no ultimate, as it was stripped by Fails a little bit earlier on in that engagement, was not able to defend in the 2v2. Radical Rodents, they trade Farrakrick early on in that fight. It was a massive ultimate from Picarino, followed up by the Anvil of Dawn from French Emperor, but it only slows them down. That Phoenix will eventually fall, as will the Primal Fury. And there still is a lot of time to play with on this Fire Giant. I think about an entire minute, maybe about a minute and a half left on this buff. With a Phoenix already down, the most valuable Phoenix, by the way. Might as well just go pick up those tier 2s, reset, get ready for the next Fire Giant.
A lot of golden hand before they went back to the base. They spent it up, and you even see Panvich went for an Amulet of Silence. Item we haven't seen, I don't think really at all yet. I think this might be one of the first appearances that we've actually seen of this glyph popping out here, but I mean, a good god to throw it on here. I mean, Panvich is going to be eating a lot of those abilities in the back line. You get that next little basic on enemy god, get that extra little bit of CC thrown into the kit with that silence thrown out. A little bit of a long internal cooldown, but with some of the changes that are coming to it, I imagine we might be seeing a little bit more of this item as the season goes on.
Okay, I know it says like the basic attack applies a silence. Do you think it works in cleave? Like if your next basic is a cleave, do you think it silences multiple targets?
You know, I've never actually tried that, mostly because I just play Guardians and mostly Atlas, who I used on, but usually I get the silence after I pick somebody up and then I throw them and then silence them. But I haven't tried it on a cleave yet.
Well, here's the thing about how it's such a niche scenario that it almost would never come up, and even if it does, it's a pretty minuscule change. It is, but I want to know now. I'm sure chat's like blowing me up. Like, of course, it works in the cleave Mifflin. Of course it does. It says next basic. It doesn't say next single target basic.
It doesn't say next basic on only one singular person out here. Though there is some instances where this can proc onto a minion. That's some of the buffs that's being changed out here, where it will now only proc on the enemy god that you hit with that basic attack here. So we'll see how this Amulet of Silence pays out for Panvich as the game goes on. But 206 on the Osiris, 3-0-6 on Fail. Has been putting out a lot of damage. The damage charts currently show Picarino's at the top, but it is a Thoth. Lots of nice long-range artillery damage to throw out there. Right behind is actually interesting enough Zolat with this Hachiman. Seems that these Odysseus bow bounces in these team fights have been getting him a lot of extra damage.
AoE damage feels pretty nice, especially in how grouped up these last couple of team fights have been. I'm theory crafting now, because we're talking about the Amulet of Silence. What if you throw like an Anchile in that build, and then like also like a Mantle of Discord? That would be so annoying. That would tilt me off the planet. I'd throw up like an F6 vote if I got hit by like a silence into a stun that like he didn't even have to aim.
And then he's already got a Nemean line there too, so even if you can't throw abilities at him because of the silence, now your autos aren't going to do anything to him too. This is, you just potentially theory crafted the most annoying build for any mage to try and deal with a god like this.
All right, if we ever see it, I've coined it now. That's the
it's now the Mifflin build.
No, that's lame. I don't like builds that are named after like players. I like.
What do you want to call it? What will the build be called then?
Dirty Bubble 2.
Dirty Bubble 2.
Yeah, but no bubbles.
Electric Boogaloo.
Sure.
All right, we'll throw that one in there. But Fire Giant started up by the Radical Rodents, and no real answer from ZINEDINE. Even though that wave is pushed far up on that left-hand side, no one is willing to step up to try and take this objective away. Fire Giant goes the way of the Radical Rodents with an already stifling 12,000 gold lead. It's going to be a hard-pressed defense here at these last two birds.
If ZINEDINE ZIDANE can manage to group up on a bird as 5 members, their base defense is actually incredibly strong. Picorino with range damage, skills with range damage as well. Decent engage. French Emperor can chase out these kills very easily. Ugly One has really strong engage with a dazzling offensive. But as of now, we're not grouped up as 5, and we're not under the Phoenix.
Ugly One is losing a 1v1 versus Fails. That makes it now a 4 versus 4. A dive into the backline by Panvich right on top of Picorino. French Emperor used the ult just to try and zone this Osiris from taking down his mid lane carry. But Picorino in the back with Calvin, half health on the 2 of them. Final Judgment thrown out, gets the Aegis out of Farrakrick, but that mid lane Phoenix is already gone.
Hey, luckily for Ugly One playing Amaterasu, you are just faster than most people, so despite Fail spending the last 20 or so seconds chasing him out, all it does is create a 4v4 for the rest of the time. Ugly One does make his way back to base, and has rejoined his team now. 5 versus 5, but a little bit weaker on both sides.
Fire minions coming into the Phoenix. That should be very quick to take this one down. Jacob dives in the backline. Calvin in the Draconic form lands through, but doesn't find much of the CC beyond there, sticking a little bit farther back and not willing to engage with the rest of his team. All ults down on their side. It was only Jacob and Zolot who had anything remaining going to that last fight. So now 2 birds taken away by Radical Rodents.
And only 1 left standing, so you gotta think that's where they're headed, right? Maybe they can catch out Ugly One, who's yet again pretty far up in the... That's dangerous, man. French Emperor, he's got his ult. He should be okay. He's got his ult. I'm not worried about it, but he won't be there for the defense, and I don't think Radical Rodents really need a wave.
Will teleport away again, so Fail's going to keep him on this wild goose chase through the jungle. It doesn't seem that Radical Rodents are willing to commit to this Phoenix without that minion wave coming through. Even despite having that Fire Giant, still has those backdoor protections to hold it out here. Ugly One goes in up against Zolat, a quick dash away. Another Final Judgment comes up short on the side of Picorino. ZINEDINE, though, still holding that defense, but finally the Radical Rodents are walking their way in. Wall off to the side, not going to do much. French Emperor has to teleport out, but Picorino's the one in danger. Aegis is gone, Beads is gone, Life is gone. Fails, picks up the kill onto the mid laner, and French Emperor dunks back in. Maybe not the most wise decision, as he has to use that hammer to get right back out.
He does survive at the end of the day, but losing out on that CC is going to be massive as the Titan burns quickly.
Radical Rodents, all 5 in the throne room, and all 5 will take down the Titan to tie up the set and bring us to yet another Game 3 here. Radical Rodents with an impressive performance in Game 2.
Man, ZINEDINE is a team that lives for the crowd, man. These guys are all for one-sided battles into immediate third games, all right? Never has it ever been just one-sided. We got to get that little bit of intrigue. Winner of this next one moves on. Loser goes home.
It's going to be an important one here. Who's going to take home Game 3? We'll have to find out right after this. Well, welcome back to the European Smite Challenger Circuit qualifiers in qualification round number 5 for that 5th of the 6 spots out there. ZINEDINE fall down in game number 2 to a very impressive play here out of the Radical Rodents. Control across the map this time went to that Chaos side. Team fails on this Erlong Shen, able to get some nice aggression through and kind of punish Pikarunu a lot. He didn't really get to have the same level of fun that he did in game number 1. And Zolat with this, I called it interesting build, worked out really well. Ended up topping some of those damage charts here on this Hachiman.
Yeah, you called it the double interesting build, like Merriam-Webster and Caster.
It was.
Maybe like say sorry.
Maybe, you know what? Maybe I am a bit sorry. I had never seen a build like that here out on this. So it had.
You've never seen Xe and Odie?
I think Devour's Xe Odie in that combination was what threw
I forgot.
me.
Yeah, you're like
threw
new.
Me off.
I forgot.
I'm
yeah.
also not much of a hunter player myself, so I don't keep track of the hip build trends that come out from those roles.
Yeah, what's Zapman been up to? What's he been building? I don't know.
We need some Zapman out here to help it out here. But good plays out of the Radical Rodents. Net them a win here in game number 2, and they get themselves poised up here now for game 3.
Yeah, this was a game, again, of early dominance. This time it took a little bit longer, but once Radical Rodents had gotten their control of the game, things generally slowed down. Neutral objectives largely went the way of Radical Rodents. ZINEDINE kind of made a decision that, hey, our base defense is pretty strong. Let's just let these neutrals go away. They can have the Pyros, they can have the Gold Furies, they can have the Fire Giants, but you let it so much slip that by the time you get to utilize your base defense, you were like, what was that, like 16,000 gold down? Experience didn't really matter at that point in the game, but gold still certainly did. People were still finishing up those 6 items and starters. Feels like to me that this is a game that is won or lost by Tiamat. Whichever team gets it wins.
So maybe we see ZINEDINE try and prioritize that as a first pick. In game number 1, it was able to drop all the way down to 2nd, 3rd on the side of ZINEDINE. We're here in game number 2. Radical Rodents top 2'd that one after the Amaterasu got picked up. So maybe you're onto something here, Mifflin. 2, 2, and 7, so maybe not the most impressive of slash lines
wait till you see the damage
on the Tiamat so far, at least for slash line's sake, maybe not the most impressive,
Sheesh.
but nearly topping out charts here. That one goes to Zolat, though. 17, almost 18,000 damage here on this Hachiman out of the duo lane.
15k structure. He did it all.
He really did. He really did just about everything here. Fair correct? No, those are fake. Those are the lizards doing that. Actually, do the lizards count towards your own structure damage?
I'm going to say yes, but I'm hoping that nobody fact checks me.
Somebody will. Anytime that we say something like this, somebody's going to fact check us at this point here. But impressive play across the board for Radical Rodents. They hit themselves game 2. And game 3, the most important one now for both of these teams. Because as we've been saying all day, loser of this game, loser of this set, they don't make it into the SCC. They got to fight their way through the SOC now. So we'll see which team is going to take it here. Picks and bans. Game number 3, ZINEDINE once again taking that first pick. And if this Tiamat is any indication of winning team is the one with the Tiamat, maybe Radical Rodents don't want to give that one up, or maybe bank on the fact that ZINEDINE don't top pick it.
Here's the thing, man. I don't even care if it's necessarily true. Like, Tiamat isn't the pick that, like, won you the game. In game 1, certainly was. But I'm banning it out either way just because, like, what else are you banning? Are you that worried about a Nemesis? I suppose so.
Apparently.
Radical Rodents shook by the Nemesis on the other side. Auto Attack Jungler seemed to be the name of the game for both of these squads. But, like, if we're banning out things like Erlong Shen, if we're banning out the Nemesis tier gods of the world, let's take away the Tiamat, you know? Like, remove that layer of entropy.
Well, it will be banned away here. So you called for it, and it will come into reality here.
Puff my chest
Tiamat
up.
and Nemesis banned away by Radical Rodents, Erlong Shen, and Bastet by ZINEDINE. So let's see a new look from both of these mid laners this time around. We saw Giannis in one game, Thoth in another. We'll see if one of those two makes it back here this time around. Amaterasu is actually the biggest mix-up out of all these bans, who was left open in both games 1 and 2 for a first peek for ZINEDINE. This time, they're going to be the ones who ban it away.
Bologna.
Bologna first pick?
Yeah, Bologna.
I thought you were saying for the ban for a moment here, but a Bologna first pick. We'll see if that's the call from ZINEDINE. It is a Fenrir ban, and you'd be correct in your lane at the very least here, but incorrect in the class and the god out here. Jormungandr. You're heartbroken by that one. You had the confidence on that Bologna.
I was so certain, man. They've been taking it like second pick every game.
Surely
you know
now, it's Bologna.
With Ama banned out, you know what I mean? It's like you don't even have to, right? Like you could wait on your soul laner for at least one more pick without having to worry about a ban? No shot, man. Come on.
Now they're just
No shot, man.
Now they are just messing with you. Medusa, Bologna, the top two on the side of Radical Rodents. I was almost willing to even throw a bone and be like, hey, they pick up the Jormungandr and they're going to throw it mid just for some extra little spice and then grab a Bologna on the side of ZINEDINE. No, that's not the case. Medusa, Bologna, and then back to the Hou-Yi here for ZINEDINE ZIDANE, and maybe even looking at this Bacchus to round out the duo lane, get their front line, and get their duo lane kind of lined out here on ZINEDINE.
So the point I was going to make was that if you already have a soul laner locked in on one side, and you know that you're going to get another round of picks before the next round of bans, that you can get some priority picks for yourself because you can pretty well guess that Jormungandr isn't going to go towards mid or into the jungle or into support, really is kind of just a soul lane god, so then you could wait a little bit. Maybe if you wanted a Bacchus for yourself, you could have been the team that had that. But I guess Radical Rodents were like, no, we need the Bologna, we need it now. And they've got it. So let's evaluate the three-man cores. I'm done being sad boy hours. I'm no longer on demon time. Jormungandr, Hou-Yi, Bacchus, that's an incredibly strong front line. You've got pretty strong space control as well. Hou-Yi with the Raining Suns, Bacchus with the ability to lock down entire jungle paths with the Belch, and World Serpent as a disruption tool. We're not going to get to see that for a little while because generally it's going to be just safety in the lane for the first 10 or so minutes. But that core 3 from ZINEDINE ZIDANE is incredibly strong in its own right. But that said, Radical Rodents with an Wheelish selection in their third pick limits a lot of the strengths of what we're already seeing from ZZ. Hou-Yi has got a very slow leap, very easy to line up the gravity surge there. Bacchus very predictable, and then he kind of like waddles up, and then you leap on him. Pretty easy to see, oh, he's waddling at me. Maybe he's going to leap. Line up that gravity surge, hover your finger over the 4 key, and you'll be just fine.
It will be Sovek and Agni banned away by ZINEDINE ZIDANE as we go into the second round of bans. And then a Dodgy and a Morgan. So we've seen a little bit of Morgan. We've been seeing just the dominance that a Dodgy can provide, especially if you're going to be drafting some gods like a Thoth who doesn't have that CC immunity into his kit and can be punished by a god like that. But something out of left field here, Susano. We don't see a whole lot of him to begin with, and especially amongst this EU scene, kind of a first look here at Susano.
I was expecting Susano to be like meta when we were evaluating just like Season 9 changes. I was like, hi-rez Lament has got percent pen on it now? Okay, alright. Well, Susano's probably just going to be good, and it like never happened. So I'm excited to see how well Susano's going to be able to perform here against pretty traditional draft so far from Radical Rodents. You've got great targets for Susano. Medusa, very easy to lock down. Bologna as well, pretty easy for him to lock down. Even a Wheelish to a certain extent doesn't really love her ability in that 1v1. Whichever assassin pulls the lead is going to dominate that 1v1 though, so maybe unfair in saying that a Wheelish doesn't love her matchup. But with itemization as it is, with penetration being as strong as it is in the jungle, with hi-rez Lament being such a good tool, and Susano being one of the best, if not the actual best, auto attack cancel in the game, I think this god has got a lot of merit.
You got a couple of that Susano with Morgan Le Fay to round out the draft for ZINEDINE ZIDANE here in Game 3. And Radical Rodents will close out with Thoth Cabrakan. So talking a lot about this, we talked a lot about the Susano, and now going back to this Wheelish, it's going to be the only person to really facilitate their own knockups here. Not going to have anybody else to really try and provide that additional form of CC to allow this Wheelish to go in. But as you highlighted earlier on, two great gods, Hou-Yi and Bacchus, to be able to pull back with that gravity surge. Curious as how the first, this kind of first like 9 levels of the game is going to go for really both these two junglers.
Well, if we want to use history as any indicator, the first 9 levels we're going to see 3 kills. I think there's going to be 3 kills, and then somebody ticks over to level 10, and then we'll get some more.
Well, we'll see how many kills actually do come through here in game number 3 between ZINEDINE ZIDANE and the Radical Rodents. J-Mac, Mifflin, and Doug one final time in this set to see who's going to be moving on and taking the 5th spot of the EU SCC. Fails on the Wheelish, probably the highlight talking point here alongside French Emperor on the Susano. This jungle matchup has been very volatile, at least in game number 2. We'll see if that holds true here in game 3.
Yeah, I mean, that's the right way to word it, J-Mac. It feels like when one jungler is popping off, the other one's like, oh no, I'm going to back up. Look, that guy's got like 4 kills already. I need to farm my jungle. Don't want to fall behind. So whoever strikes first will likely strike the most in this jungle match. I really like that. That's a good bit of analysis you gave me.
We're going to have a Tremor out of Jacob just to keep that wave there and just be more of a nuisance than anything else. You never want to fight into those Tremors earlier on. And Calvin and Skills don't really have a way to stop that, especially if Calvin already belly flops in ahead of time. So So for now, the wave advantage will go to Zola and Jacob. They'll be able to use that wave pressure to push in and take this Alpha Harpy and get a nice little early lead for themselves.
Yeah, I was really surprised to see Calvin using his abilities earlier. You'd expect him to just try and focus out Jacob, make sure that Tremor doesn't work out, but instead, yet again, going to allow him to do so. But this time level 2, so knock-up will work its way forward. This is a lane that, if we're talking about kill pressure and ease of execution, you're probably giving the edge over to the Radical Rodents. It's pretty easy to just have Jacob HL W key at somebody, land an auto attack that also happens to stun, and then that full Medusa follow-up. Whereas to get the full damage value from ZINEDINE's dual lane, kind of got to pop off with a big ricochet.
They're just waiting for Ugly One to step forward. They will be able to get some damage. Knockup will hold out Ugly One for a little while there. I thought maybe Fails was keeping check on the health of the minion inside that camp there. I was thinking he was just going to wait and throw the Jaguar at him to get the steal, but doesn't do so. Instead, just some poke against Ugly One. Going again on this damage-style Jormungandr. We'll get back to that in a moment here. The support's taking a lot of damage out here. Picarinu does get a nice damage with the Dragonflight to try and keep Fails and Ferrocrick off, and it will be just enough on the help of that Dragonfly. French Emperor wants to re-engage, but not sure how much he's going to be able to get here with Picarinu so low. Decoy comes out with the damage from Picarinu. Fails falling low. Fails almost out of here, but Dragonflight on the tail end will be the one that catches out here. Picarinu strikes first blood.
Yeah, Fails spends so much time staring at a Jormungandr that you can't knock up, by the way, so it's not as if that Moonlit Charge is going to do much over there, that he's still level 2 on that right side camp, and French Emperor spent his time farming up on the map, gets over to level 3, gets all of his abilities available to him, and was very easily able to chase out Fails. Now, a level 4 Susano up against a level 3 Awilish, entire level lead at the 2-minute mark. We had said earlier, the jungler that strikes first tends to continue to strike in this matchup. We'll see if that adage rings true, but already Susano off to a very nice start, and Awilish is not a pick that performs very well from behind. It is a pick that will do very well from even. She is incredibly strong in an even state. She is even stronger from ahead. That's not analysis, that's every god with a lead. But from behind, Awilish is going to struggle a lot. She could kind of play a little bit further back, just be that gravity surge ultimate bot for your team, kind of just make sure that you aren't using your leaps aggressively. Or, what is more likely, Awilish from behind finds herself in a similar position to Erlong Shen in that, okay, well, I have to get in really close to deal my damage, and I just don't want to do that. So I'm excited to see whether or not this Awilish can bounce back.
And I gotta imagine dual lane's probably where the pressure that Awilish would want to go, because she's got 2 targets that will throw themselves up there for that gravity surge. Otherwise, like we talked about in the picks and bans, this Awilish is going to have to do a lot of the heavy lifting to be able to get any value from that ability here. A brief pause, and now we'll jump right back into the game here. 3 minutes in. Calvin and Skills both level 4. Same with their opposition, Zola and Jacob, despite the early aggression in dual lane. Pressure's in the mid at this point in time. Picarino on this Morgan Le Fay. And I always love seeing Morgan Le Fay kind of just poke her head back into the meta. She was like one of the top 3 gods for the longest time at the halfway point of Season 8, and then she slowly kind of trickled away. We keep seeing little hints of her every so often.
Yeah, I was surprised that she fell off as hard as she did, because I think she is amongst the mid laners that really does utilize the flat pen style of build. She's able to apply that poke very consistently. Doug, I asked for it a lot, but I'm going to ask again. Can we get a look at Picarino's level order? I think that we will likely see that he's maxing out the 3rd ability first. That is your most consistent poke and clear, and it is going to be the case. And little known fact, something I'm surprised that a lot of people don't talk about the Morgan, or not the Morgan, this Morgan, Morgan Le Fay, is that her 3rd ability just straight up gives you a ton of movement speed. I feel like I'm watching streams all the time and Smite, people are saying, yo, why is this Morgan so fast? It's because she just gets like 20% in her kit.
Between that and all the extra CC, it does feel like if this god gets ahead, it's almost impossible to really keep up with her at this point. Level 6 on this Morgan Le Fay. Tier 2 of their flat pen early on. Spear of Desolation has been that usual first call for these mid lane mages. And with the help of that first blood, I mean, they can get that just a little bit sooner. Obelisks are split pretty evenly amongst these teams as far as the experience goes. And honestly, I will say, Mifflin, it's very refreshing not seeing the 4v4 brawling at these obelisks that we were seeing a few weeks ago.
Really? I liked that, man. Those obelisk plays, like where you could like go for these massive swings in the early for big reward, I thought that was like really exciting, something to like fight over that isn't necessarily like a Gold Fury or Pyro.
Okay, let me rephrase. I'm glad that we're not seeing the inting for these
Okay.
obelisks quite as much. I did like the fights around there that it could bring.
Uh-oh.
I'm less of a fan of the inting out here that we got to see through on. Gravity Surge does find skills, and a Feather Step right after, plus some extra help from Zolat means that Fails can strike first for the side of Radical Rodents now, ties up the kills, and shores up a little bit of that gold disparity.
That was an insanely late beads from Skills, man. He didn't immune the CC. He didn't immune the damage of Gravity Surge. He gets pulled in, beads late, gets Feather Stepped anyway, doesn't have the leap. So now not only has he lost his life, but he's lost his defensive relic. If I'm Fails, I'm saying, yo, I'll be back. Hey, don't worry about it, Zolat. I'll be right back.
Give me like 60 seconds. I'll be back over in that lane. Just got to make sure my speed buff goes back to me. We'll clear out a couple things in the way. And yeah, we'll make a detour back over to that left-hand side. Zolat going to be sitting pretty on this Medusa now that he's got a little bit of that extra advantage, especially with that Petrify. Now the only way for Skills to get away from it is to be using that Dive Bomb. But as long as Fails is within that area, even that Dive Bomb is no form of safety.
No, not at all. A lot of respect here from the Radical Rodents around these left side camps. They have defensive positioning, but instead allow Calvin to pull those out and control the flowers. That said, I think actually Jacob HL able to steal a couple away and spawn up his own obelisk. As of now, not much to fight over until Ugly One shows up.
Ugly One here into the mid lane. Damage on the Fails, but pull in against Calvin with that Gravity Surge, but Fails the danger. The Typhoon out of French Emperor will take down one, and the Dragonflight out of Picarina will grab another, but Panvich has now made their rotation into the mid lane. Ferrocryk low, and Ugly One will surely chase this one out, but Ugly One doesn't have the damage, doesn't have the chase down to find Ferrocryk. It'll be a 2-for-1 trade for the ZINEDINE ZIDANE.
It's a hard to pronounce name, isn't it?
It gets me tongue-tied every so often.
Dude, right? And it's like, it's not even spelled phonetically, I don't think. Like, that ZINEDINE, I'm looking at like ZINEDINE ZIDANE. I think that's what I said the first time.
I'm thinking like ZINEDINE.
ZINEDINE. Yeah. That sounds like a children's frozen meal. Yeah, you want some ZINEDINE nuggets tonight, honey? That works.
What?
That doesn't work?
Not quite for me, that one.
All right, well, that's on me then, I guess.
Not quite. I do enjoy the little bit of banter.
Ask me a question about the game.
How's the game going, Mifflin?
Okay, come on. You gave me like the whole field. The game's going. It's going well. We're like 7 minutes in. Zolat stuck inside of his tower. He's going to use Petrify on the wave. Interesting.
Blink around Calvin by Jacob. It'll still get caught by that belly flop there. In by Calvin. Walls will catch him, and now with Calvin no mobility, he's stuck inside, but with the sun's raining down, not sure Jacob won't stand around much longer. Instead, it'll be Fails to finish the job here. He'll grab his second kill of the game. Put another one up for Radical Rodents, but now with French Emperor and Picarino and a nice ricochet in by Skills. Quick blink out of Fails gets him out of there, and an even better route by Ferrocryk will make sure Picarino can't go further.
Man, French Emperor went cross-eyed trying to find Fails there. That blink was clean to secure his escape. Had French Emperor been a little bit quicker on that first ability, maybe Fails would have been locked out. We could be talking about a gold-free attempt for either one of these teams. Instead, though, it is going to be a reset back to neutral, small skirmish favoring the Radical Rodents. But golden experience still going the way of the Order side, ZZ, getting the majority of macro farm in their favor, which is, again, interesting. It's been largely the mid-camps favoring the Order team, but one side's got a Thoth, and this is the point of the game right now where Thoth feels really, really good, except Ferrocryk hates double flat pen, man. He just won't do it. Chronos Pendant, going to be the second selection yet again.
That's going to max him at 40% with just those two items in his starter. I mean, typically when we do see the 30% rush, you go with something like Conduit Gem, but he's going to get that 40% right out the gate if it does end up being that Chronos Pendant.
And it will be. I'm willing to bet because he's gone it every game.
You're going to put the 10,000 on it this time?
10K? You want it? You want that?
I'm still not sure what the 10K is actually in regards to here. For now, it's a fight over the Greater Scorpion by Panvich and a couple of members of ZINEDINE. But Ugly One rotating over will mean that fight is gone, and the Greater Scorpion will go to the Radical Rodents.
Will. Nothing really to fight over as of now. I feel like I say that all the time, but it really does feel like these guys, both squads, Radical Rodents and ZINEDINE ZIDANE, are very willing to just play it out for the late game team fight. They really are willing to just group up and say, hey, I think my draft's better. No, I think my draft's better. All right, let's test it. Line up. And that seems to be how a lot of these games are going to be decided. Or it's around that 14 to 15 minute mark where that first gold free fight starts to erupt. I'm expecting the team that has got the larger mobility to be the ones rotating over first, and that is the squad that has Jormungandr on it. ZINEDINE, ZIDANE. Just walk over to this Gold Fury. They've got pretty strong, secure. The only thing they need to concern themselves with is this Thoth on the other side. If they can force out the ultimate from Fenrir, then there's really no steal potential that they need to super concern themselves with. And they've got decent secure in their own right. Probably best on their side is going to be either the French Emperor's ultimate, once he gets that Transcendence stacked up, or even Calvin's ultimate. We'll match up just about anything from the Radical Rodents.
French Emperor once again going for a Transcendence after that Jotun's Wrath, give himself another 10% CDR once that one is fully stacked up, and a large power spike. It will take some time for him to get those stacks through. Instead, it's time to fight, because Ugly One is rotated to this left side to try and find Jacob. Damage is good from the mid laner. Dragonfly will shove him against the wall, and Jacob is just getting bullied by ZINEDINE ZIDANE right here. 5-man squad on the Order side has taken out the support and are now setting up themselves towards this Fury.
Yeah, Zing Ding Wings and things are doing really good controlling the farm on the left side. And you know what? Jacob has been getting accosted this entire set. Like, he has not been allowed to step up whatsoever. If we get like a combined KDA through all 3 of these games, like, it's Jacob HL the majority of the time getting picked out, which I suppose speaks well to your support's willingness to trade out his own life. But even in that situation, I feel like that was an avoidable death. That said, nothing lost out here. They don't go back towards the Gold Fury. Instead, it's just another reset back towards neutral. Mid-camps and Oracles go over to the Order side, but that's it, besides the Kraken's life.
Are they going to go for this Gold Fury here? Board drop down. I thought maybe the 2-man squad here. Skills is still going to kind of posture around it. 2 now rotating in from ZINEDINE to finally set this one up. So we'll see the first objective play come around. But once again, it's Jacob, the one to try and steal this one out. Does have that Kraken ult if needed to try and either push it away or grab it out here. With the suns raining down, Gold Fury will go to ZZ, the Order side. And finally, the first major objective goes down. But Radical Rodents will at least answer in kind and grab a Pyromancer of their own.
Super early Petrify attempt from Zolot there. Maybe throwing it out for the damage, seeing if he could lock down any individual member, get an assist off the back of a Gold Fury. But if it was a steal attempt, came out at like the 40% mark, so not really the best usage. But as you said, neutral objectives split on the map, which means that we're not going to see too much more in the near future. I would think, yet again, the Order side, ZINEDINE, can go just about anywhere on the map. Their aggression and their siege potential is pretty strong, especially around this Morgan Le Fay now. She's already got the Spear of the Magus, going to be able to apply that very easily with a third ability. Dragonflight as well, going to be a phenomenal self-peel tool against the divers of Radical Rodents. Fails, has to walk up, auto-attack you once before he goes for the Feather Step, which means that you've got time to use Dragonflight. If it's Panvich and he's channeling Bludgeon, Dragonflight can cancel that one out incredibly quickly. The only one who can really deal with this Morgan Le Fay is going to be Jacob HL, and Jacob HL has been dying a lot, so having him in your backline doesn't feel so bad, considering he's really not even got a lot of damage at this point, level 10 to 10 up against Calvin. So a tier 1 mid-tower siege, not out of the question for the Order team. It's just about willingness. Are they willing to try and make that attempt? And I don't think so.
Trying to make an attempt at a kill against Ugly One, but thanks to the help of the passive that Jormungandr are not going to be too scared of what Fails can do with that Awelish. I was gonna say, Miff, I'm now 0 for 2 on taking bets that I would have won here. Fenrir does not go for a Chronos Pendant. Instead, it's a Charon's Coin, second item out. So it will only be the 20% CDR, but now 20% pen on the side of this Thaw. Calvin getting stuck inside the Terminus of Jacob. Will have the belly flop to get away. French Emperor needs a lot of help. The walls out of Jacob will lock him down in. The sun's not enough to help him out as Zolot finds the pick.
Good play from French Emperor once he realizes that his life is forfeit. Says, okay, well, I'm going to do the most that I can before I die. Turns around, pulls Fenrir into the Reigning Sons of Skills, forces out the Beads and Aegis from the Thoth on the other side. That is going to be a long time with those synced relics until he can feel safe in yet another engagement. Is it a worthwhile trade? Maybe. Legitimately, maybe for this Susano. He was already 1-1. His bounty wasn't massive. I think I'm all right with that if I'm the French Emperor.
So far, this Susano still has a slight XP lead, even only getting the 1 kill compared to Fails. Fails has just now procced himself over to level 14 with this farm. And that's kind of been the storyline of Game 1 and 2. It's which of these junglers gets that big lead. That's the one that's usually going to be taking off. But even despite that first kill really going the way of French Emperor and Picarino in that early skirmish in the mid lane, it's been this back and forth battle here in Game 3 between these two jungles.
It has been. This time around, though, it's not as if one jungler is having a much more quiet performance. Fails, sure, slash line a little bit better. Kill participation about dead even across the board. And French Emperor even in experience as well. Impact on the map, got to give favor over to neither. I mean, they've been doing a lot for both of their teams. The difference makers, I think, yet again, has got to be the supports. Calvin has just been more active on the map than Jacob HL.
Jacob HL will find an ult against Picarino, but that gets the ult out of the mid laner himself. Now French Emperor
Yikes.
Gets caught out in the middle of 3, eats a final judgment, and Fails will be the one who takes the last hit there. Get another kill up for Radical Rodents. Ugly One versus Panvich in the jungle will quickly separate themselves out. Tier 1 tower was being looked at here, but as long as Calvin and Picarino are sticking by, not sure that Tier 1 is going to be the call for Radical Rodents. Instead, it'll just be Greater Scorpion.
That has got to be the worst feeling on the planet for French Emperor. Dies, respawns, walks up, does like 200 damage, dies again immediately. He had a lead just a couple moments ago, is still maintaining relatively even, but Fails has closed up that gap and is likely about a half level up now on this Susano. Even then, he also lost his speed buff too, man. My heart goes out to you, French Emperor. That is not a fun situation to find yourself in, but this has all been the last couple of minutes vying for time, waiting for the next POI to respawn. Primal Fury going to rejoin the realm of the living in just under 30 seconds. It should be the POI where both of these teams start to look towards. And Faircrick will have his full strength back and available to him by the time that happens. 10 seconds left on both Beads and Aegis. That should be back up just in time. Neither team going to have a significant advantage going in towards this objective. We're less than 1,000 gold separating these squads. Experience less than 1,000 as well. It is actually dead even. That's nuts.
We are 17 minutes in, even though there's been 9 kills so far in this game. Completely even across the board here. Faircrick did listen to you, though, and picked up a second flat pin item.
Let's go!
Took him a little bit longer this time. Third item before he finally stacks that one out there. But between those and the Charon's Coin, going to be hitting very hard even against some of these tanks. Plus, the innate passive that Thoth has. And I actually had to look back. That used to give him like 25 flat pin as a passive. Not quite the same now. Skills will have to use the beads to get away from Jacob HL. Nice pressure out of the support.
That is a massive find, especially considering the map state as well. Radical Rodents, they pull out the Primal, but it's burning slowly.
Ugly One is here, lurking in the depths to see if they can find anybody and disrupt this. Primal Fury
Good
leads.
cage.
Jacob drops out the wall, but Calvin and Picarino are able to get away. Eagles rally into the back line. Panvich wants to get this killed. Good damage of a better beads out of Calvin. Make sure he gets away from that ultimate from Fails. Jacob HL still in the back line, holding Ugly One back. Typhoon comes through, not enough yet to kill Jacob, and finally, French Emperor will find the final blow for Skills and Calvin team up to take down the solo laner. Picarino even in danger, and Fails will find him, and he may be able to make his way out of here.
3 members still alive on the Radical Rodents. A nice stun on a Zolot should make him reconsider whether or not he wants to go back in towards that engagement. ZINEDINE, ZIDANE will go ahead and reset themselves as well, despite coming out ahead in the kill department. They've got plenty of time to work with. Panvich's death being so desynced, still 30 seconds left until he comes back. Means that they could, ZZ that is, regroup and take a 4 versus 3 on the Primal Fury very shortly. But take a peek at the vision on map, man. Radical Rodents are dominating the ward battle. Calvin finally was able to reestablish a bit of dominance himself on the pit itself and around some of these tertiary wards. I think that topside ward's still outside of range, so Radical Rodents will have vision on the objective itself, as well as the Oracle vision. Nothing that ZZ can do about that for now. And despite that fight going one way, the game does not. We are still dead even.
Just a little bit of gold the way of ZINEDINE ZIDANE so far. Only about 700-800 gold at this point through. And looking across the way, we saw the 20% pen item out of Faircrick in the way of Charon's Coin. Picarino going the opposite route, still staying in that magic focus tree, but it will be an Obsidian Shard as a third item out here, and then working towards that lost artifact. And still some more posturing up around this Gold Fury, this Primal Fury, the major POI for the side of Radical Rodents. They've already grouped up yet again. Calvin is here at the front line, Fails off to the side. Primal Fury down to a quarter health, hasn't been leashed just yet. But Panvich's health
Oh
bar
my God.
has been released. He has been released from this mortal realm and can wait back for the rest of his team to potentially join him here. Ugly One diving in the backline to keep Faircrick out of the fight. That's both relics gone from the mid laner. It could be even more from here. A good knockup and a damage after each. French Emperor picks up the double.
Jacob HL tried his best to walk forward in that fight, and he just got CC'd to death. There was no ability usage. Not a single ability came out of this Cabrakan. Not a relic, not an ultimate, not a 1, not a 2. He just got CC'd continually inside that ultimate from skills, and ZZ not only take the objective, but also just about all the lives of the Radical Rodents. Still 30 seconds left on Faircrick, 15 on Panvich, and Jacob HL just now respawning. Going to take a little while for him to walk all the way across the map. ZZ, they don't have their eyes on the Pyro. They've got it on the prize. Fire Giant pulled out.
Fails and Zolat are still alive, but waiting a little bit further out. If they even try and go for this Fire Giant, Fails has heard potentially that it has started up, but no shot. And so Wheelers is going to make their way in. Maybe a steal over the wall of the Jaguar. Very early there. ZINEDINE ZIDANE gets the Fire Giant. And can they get more? Jacob has walked in yet again and could be the victim of yet another fight. Cage is in 2. Cage is out 1, but Eagles rally. Dives into the back line on top. Panvich is slapping away at Calvin's health bar, but Dragonflight slams through 2, and the World Serpent out of Ugly One will make sure to keep this fight zoned out.
Fire Giant going to keep everybody resustained for ZZ, but Radical Rodents not going to chase that one out, and ZZ are going to allow them to leave the fight. Instead, fall back towards that Pyromancer, pick up their consolation prize, head back to base, and spend up all that gold. There still are plenty of towers on the map for them to go ahead, ZZ that is, clear out. 4 on the map, 2 in mid, 1 on each side lane, and then you've got the birds left and exposed. I think the siege potential of ZZ is pretty high. You've got great poke potential. Morgan Le Fay very good in those scenarios. Calvin, decent engage, but more importantly, it's the disruption factor of this Jormungandr from Ugly One and skill's ability to control space with that ultimate. All you have to do with Hou-Yi is survive that initial burst of damage. Make sure that Faircrick has been pushed out a little bit, that Jacob HL doesn't have that cage available, and then you can walk forward, start raining suns, and Radical Rodents will likely scatter. They don't want to stand inside that. That's a lot of damage, J-Mac. That's a massive circle they can't stand in. So what will they do? Create space. And with that space, what are ZZ going to do? Probably hit a bird, probably take it out. That's probably what I'm guessing.
Potentially so, but before they can get to those birds, though, they got to take some of these towers off the map. 4 still standing on the Radical Rodents side of the map, and it'll be Radical Rodents who actually strike first as far as the towers are concerned. Tier 1 in right lane will go down. That'll be their first tower taken away. That mid lane hanging on by a thread. Radical Rodents, even though they're not the ones with the Fire Giant buff, they're wanting to get this fight started. Ugly One loses on that ultimate, but now this potential base race that Radical Rodents started up has slowly been stopped by the side of ZINEDINE ZIDANE. Teleport comes in towards the Phoenix, and the rest of the Radical Rodents have finally regrouped themselves to defend against this left side bird.
Had Ugly One gone aggressive there, hear me out, had he just gone a little bit aggressive and stopped some backs, that left side Phoenix would have gone down. There were 4 members of the Radical Rodents on the right side of the map, and like Fails is backing right in front of Ugly One. We'd already seen what the damage output looks like on the Jormungandr. I wasn't impressed. He didn't take anything before he channeled the World Serpent, but instead allows the Radical Rodents to reset, and well, that forces ZZ to stop their push on the left-hand side. Had he just stopped 1-2 backs, bought a couple of seconds, I think that Phoenix was going down.
For now, it will just be the tier 2 in left and both towers in the mid lane down, and with one little trek to the right side of the map, ZINEDINE ZIDANE should take out the last of the towers. That will only leave Phoenix's up now, and with only a minute left on this Fire Giant, should be ZINEDINE's final push if that previous games are any indication of these teams not wanting to push up towards birds with only a moment left on this Fire Giant buff. Maybe they'll prove me wrong, but not this time around. ZINEDINE will get the last tower, make their way back to base, and spend up some of that gold, sitting nearly 3K in the hands of their hunter.
Yeah, maybe go spend the gold, group up, Primal Fury. That passive going to make it a little bit easier to get the Fire Giant. Primal going to be rejoining the map very shortly. Then you can group up on the fire itself and start pushing out. No birds means that you don't really have a massive map state advantage, but you do have a massive gold advantage, 10,000 now, in favor of ZINEDINE ZIDANE. So take your time. I'm not going to complain. You've got Bumba's Spear finished up for French Emperor, so his ability to shred objectives has just gone through the roof, as well as towers, as well as enemy gods, because that's just a phenomenal stat stick in its own right. Picarino starting to finish up some pretty nice power spikes himself. Rodet's a Hootie taken for it. is that going to be a Blood Forge for French Emperor? It might be a little while. We might not even get an answer, considering the pacing of this game so far, but that is curious. Not something you see too often, especially in Conquest. It's more like an assault item.
Yeah, it's definitely like your hunter first item in assault. Grab that once you have lifesteal and get a little bit of extra here. We'll see if French Emperor does get to close out that item here. I mean, I gotta imagine the other options are what, Soul Eater and Devourer's Gauntlets, and Soul Eater the easier one to stack of those two at this stage of the game, but you don't want to spend that time stacking that item.
No, it is likely going to be Blood Forge if he gets the chance to finish it. So that's a pretty big power spike. I believe it's 75 power. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it is 75. It's a good deal of lifesteal as well, but more importantly, it's the passive that you pick that item up for. An additional health shield based on getting a kill in some of these team fights. It lets you stick around a lot longer if you are initiating properly. So could be a good power spike going forward. He's already got a good deal of power in the build, and he's already sitting at about 30% penetration. Decent deal of flat pen as well. No, it's 40% penetration. I forgot. Bump of Spear's got it on itself as well. Yeah, this is a cool build. I like this a lot. It's a slow build. It's an expensive build. But once you are late game, that is incredibly strong.
We do have an alternate timeline here out of Picorino. Maybe in case he catches a stray final judgment from Farrakhan, could have a second chance at life. Still hasn't upgraded those relics yet. Ratatouille was finished up, and Fire Giant started now by ZINEDINE ZIDANE. Ugly One. The main front line here will find Jacob. Frenzy gets popped, and that should be the end of the life of the support. He'll get the walls out before he goes down. And Picorino is not concerned at all about Panvitz. That'll be an Eagles rally out of the solo laner for Radical Rodents, and a World Serpent out of Ugly One just to keep that chase up and keep the Radical Rodents pushed out.
Man, Jacob is just struggling in these fights. He's stepping too far forward, or his team isn't willing to step up with him. It's hard to tell, but I can tell that it's been consistent. He has been in the grayscale more often than not. 0-5-5 for the support of the Radical Rodents, and ZINEDINE ZIDANE have been doing a great job of punishing him. It will be Ugly One headed back to base, but luckily he's got the persistent teleport available, so should be able to rejoin his team very shortly. But backing just for Fortified Scepter, maybe sticking around would have been a little bit better, so you get that secondary life, or maybe he's just hedging his bets that this is going to be the last team fight regardless.
Could be the final stand here for the Radical Rodents. Ugly One going through that tower to get towards the back line. Calvin soaking up the damage from the Phoenix. It hasn't been eating a whole lot of poke just yet. Is down to a third health from skills, but without those minions, ZINEDINE ZIDANE don't want to stick around too much longer, or much more at all here. It will be a quick retreat now at the Order side team. They'll claim up some of the jungle that's been left standing on the Radical Rodent side of the map. And now everybody will have a chance to go back and spend some of their gold.
Yeah, that's super interesting. And I'm using the caster version of interesting here.
Gotcha.
That is, so we see Ugly One back, immediately teleport back in, Fire Giant on 5. You know that Jacob HL is like not tanky at this point. You've got significant item advantage already. You've got your relics available, all your ultimates are up, you're already grouped on the right side, and the wave is pushed up. You drop the Phoenix down to half, you don't take any damage, and then you reset. There's some gold in hand. They can purchase some like tier 2 items, some power potions as well. Skill's gonna finish up a power pot himself. No relics finished up on this back, Fortified Scepter for Picorino. They've got a lot of time to play with this Fire Giant. Less now, because they've gone back to base. We're approaching like 2 minutes left. By the time they do group up on a Phoenix, it will be a little bit under 2 minutes on each of these members. Very hesitant play, but it's a game 3 situation. You don't want to fumble the bag right now after you've done so much to establish a 15,000 gold lead and Fire Giant on 5. 20,000 experience. But just this cautious level of play is giving Radical Rodents more and more time to close up those gaps. You're still approaching 5th item for Jacob HL. 5th item finished up for just about everyone else. Zolot only a starter item away from being an entire build. Every second matters for the Radical Rodents, and doesn't matter nearly as much for ZINEDINE ZIDANE.
Bloodforge did get finished on the back by French Emperor, so now a full build Susano and swinging real hard. I mean, yes, that was against the camp, so that's going to be a lot more, but seeing an 800 auto coming for Susano is always going to be a nightmare for some of these mid laners. Ugly One again, the first one in. Panvitch down to half with just the initial threat, and the Phoenix stands no chance against ZINEDINE ZIDANE. That one's going to be taken out, and a World Serpent used just to get themselves right back out and reposition to maybe go towards this mid lane here. Minion's a little far back, though, for ZINEDINE.
Yeah, curious usage of World Serpent. That's a major team fight tool lost immediately, but plenty of time to play with still. About 1 minute left on this Fire Giant. We've seen now that the Radical Rodents base defense is lacking. They didn't commit anything there. Every ultimate's still available. Every relic's still up as well for the Radical Rodents. And this Phoenix pre-weekend can be much quicker to go down.
Yeah, it is falling quickly, and I think that might even be an understatement here. Goes down, skills though locked in, but he'll be able to jump his way out. French Emperor picks up the first kill of the fight up against Jacob once more. And Fails and Panvich, both low, have to reroute themselves as Calvin has found a double stun, and Fenrir has found the French Emperor. French Emperor, though, has to teleport out because that's a lot of health taken away from the jungler, much more than he had bargained for. And with 2 Phoenixes taken away, ZINEDINE once again regroup now towards the mid, now that the minions have made their way up. But not everybody is healthy enough to try and go for this.
But it's a 5 versus 4. You know that Radical Rodents don't have anything left in the tank. Beads Aegis just used by Fenrir. No ultimates available. Beads down on Fails. Beads down on Zolot. Jacob HL still on the respawn. You've got fire minion waves leaking down the left side of the map. But you're in a game 3 situation, J-Max. Stop me if you heard this before. And you don't want to fumble the bag in the late game. All right, he stopped me. He put his hand up. I won't say it again. Oni Fury will go to ZINEDINE ZIDANE. But that's it. Left and right Phoenix. Massive win, to be sure. But it's just this trepidatious, cautious play from ZINEDINE ZIDANE that is affording Radical Rodents more and more opportunities. It's not as if they're misplays. And it's something I see discussed a lot in just like public discourse around Smite is whether or not you want to go for the slow clinical play or you're willing to leave things up to risk. In a situation like this, you're giving Radical Rodents more and more tries. Every time you don't commit to yourself, you don't commit to one of these winning lines, you say, all right, well, this might be like an 85% chance for us. I want the 99. I want the 100. But every single time, you give more swings to Radical Rodents.
No eyes on Calvin yet. He's not here. Jacob finds 3 with the walls, and Eagles Rally finds 3 just as well. The World Serpent and the Suns are slamming down. French Emperor and Calvin finally striking to the fight to take out a third one. Fails. Finds one, but Fails doesn't have anywhere else to go. It's a double for French Emperor, and Fenrir, the last one alive, will not find a way out. It's Picarinu with a double of their own and a deicide on the side of ZINEDINE ZIDANE, and that will be curtain call for the Radical Rodents. ZINEDINE ZIDANE, congrats on making it to the SCC.
Man, that was close, though. There were a lot of HP bars for ZINEDINE ZIDANE that 1-2 more abilities would have connected with them. We could be talking about a very different game. Very unlikely that they lose off the back of that team fight, considering how back and forth the engagement was itself, but that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's a fight back that the Radical Rodents would not have been afforded had ZINEDINE ZIDANE played just a little bit more quickly.
It will be a win here for ZINEDINE ZIDANE in Game 3. They will claim their spot in the EU SCC, and we'll take it to a quick break and come back to close out that set. Welcome back to the EU-SCC qualification rounds. And with our first qualifier of today, it's ZINEDINE taking down the Radical Rodents in 2-1 fashion in a very tight-knit Game 3. A very long-winded one here. I mean, Mifflin, one thing that you were going on and on about there was
at
the end of the game here, going on about the chances that ZINEDINE were giving the Radical Rodents. In that very last team fight, I think it's important to point out that there was that opportunity for Radical Rodents to come in, but ZINEDINE able to rally together there and get that win.
Yeah, I hope we get a look back at that last team fight, because it really felt to me like Jacob HL got a little bit overzealous, a little bit overexcited in his ability to just run straight into the engagement, because it was an early engagement. Although he finds 3 with the cage, there wasn't enough follow-up nearly as quick as he would have liked. I don't think his belt hit as many people as he would have liked either. And then you lose out on the fight afterward. But you got to sing the praises of our new founded SCC team, ZINEDINE. This is a squad that is very willing to go the distance. Their team fights are incredibly strong. They do not fumble bags around these late game objectives. They confirm and control the Fire Giant. But they've also shown a propensity to play that early game aggression. We didn't see it in this set, but we've seen it earlier this week. They have the ability to play that early fight style, go for these picks that get involved in the first 10 or so minutes, and that adaptability is going to serve them very well now that they're playing at this high competitive level.
And there's these real tight margins in this last fight that so many of these players on ZINEDINE got to. I mean, obviously skills goes down at the end there, but he got collapsed on by a cage, and Eagles rally, damage coming from Ferricrick as well. That was the only one that they were able to grab in that last team fight there, but it is ZINEDINE, the French Emperor, 7-3-8. To top the charts here, at least on the kill count for his team. Picarino right behind at 4-1. And leading the charts as far as damage is concerned on this Morgan Le Fay. A god that, again, we don't see very often, but Picarino kind of reminding us of just why this god was such a meta pick in the mid lane.
CC immunity, the ultimate, lots of damage, great poke, good CC, unreactable CC as well. I think Morgan Le Fay is just fine. It is surprising that we haven't seen a whole lot of priority towards her, but I don't think that's the last we've seen of her, and I'm expecting to see plenty more.
I mean, we're just fresh here in the Season 9. We've got a whole, I can't say a whole year, we got like a whole 9 months still ahead of us at this point, just to see what else is going to be going down through with all of these teams.
Like 8.5. Yeah,
I guess go closer to 8.5 here. But ZINEDINE, the 5th of 6 teams to round out the EU-SCC, which means that we still have one more team.
No way.
We do, actually.
Okay.
And it's going to be between Ogie Bogies and Just F6. Will be our final set of today and the final set of this SCC qualification tournament here on the EU side. So the winner of that set will move on and take the 6th and final spot. The loser of that one, they're going to spend some time down at the SOC and hope that they can find their chances back into the SCC as the year goes on.
Yeah, here's the thing, man. Ogie Bogies has committed the caster cardinal sin of having a team name that has a player name in it. The Ogie Bogies is Ogabri, Fantomu, Winnie the Pooh, Jockin, and Christopher Robin. But they could have just been like the 100 Acre Wood. That would have been awesome. That would have been a sick team name. But the real point is they have to line up against Just F6, a squad that has got a lot of tenure behind them, but more importantly, some LAN experience very recently at the SPL play-ins. They had a very strong run there. So I don't think they're going to make it easy for this newer squad.
It's going to be an action-packed, sparks-flying set coming up right after this break, so you don't want to miss out. Go ahead and take yourself a break while we get set up and bring you guys our final set of the day.